asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name. Cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed. The tide is turning, and not in our favor. The wave reaching a dismal height. A new cycle has begun. The collapse of kingdoms, a new world rising, politics colliding. The truth becoming a stranger. The mouth of a new era opening wider. A ceremony of innocence swallowed. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. An image, not one of holiness, a shared imagination, a symbolic revelation, a vision of darkness, a creature born from the chaos, a collective consciousness, brutal and godless. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. 2,000 years, the end of an era, history moves, it bends. When morals and spirituality become extinct to humanity, salvation hides where many won't seek, as an uncontrollable darkness swallows the world whole. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. looks grim from here to end as darkness slithers in, up from your desert sand. A beast rises, a lion body ahead of a man, a soulless blank gaze, pitiless. An ancient power moving with purpose, showing no mercy, pushing itself into being. Cold, slow, and inevitable. Birds flying in confusion as the ghostly remnants remain as echoes of the old world are left in. And prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, a warning. Seeking power over those that oppose me. Unspeakable crime, murder at midnight. A deal I made, a life I had to take. Someone I loved once held so tight. The screams will follow me. Cries of my ancestors said, go away. My operation, fasting in brain, shape-shifting. I feel the animal high inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. This form I desire, innocent blood I will devour. Ancestors gathering round the dwelling, the spirit inhabiting, evil enveloping, the dancing graves in the night, the spirit occupying and transforming, stolen heights, dark practices, my secret life, feathered outers, mysticism, intriguing, my operation, fasting in brain, shape-shifting. I feel the animal high inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. Give me the ability to hide in plain sight, so no one can see me, not even in the light. I am the crawler, I'm a within, I'm nobody's friend. This initiation, it's all part of the dark creation. My desires performing incantations. I walk in disguise. If I catch you, it's your demise. Shamanism, my religion, summoning spirits, manifesting myself and changing my flesh. A nightmare to behold. I'ma make you part of the fold. The skin of a man, the soul of a predator. The change is complete. This thing I become, my flesh has succumbed. My operation, fasting in brain, shape-shifting. I feel the animal high inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. darkness, seeing ghosts down the hallway. There's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Light that brings out. In the dark you hear a growl. Monsters in the night, unnatural appetite. A demon sent me here to take you to the afterlife. I feel something change inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free.
All right, folks. Welcome to PRT. Hold on, let me get everything set up here. Hang on one second. All right, folks. There we go. Got to get everything straight here. Oh, man. Paranormal Roundtable. Josh Turner, welcome to PRT. Join us in the real reality. This is the real reality. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making PRT what it is. It's you guys, you the listeners. Let's see what we have here. Boy, they're really trying to hide our videos, aren't they? Making it hard to find us.
Yeah, we've had people saying that they can't find us after we
I couldn't
have been live for like an hour.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because I was having a hard time just now trying to find us. It's ridiculous. If you're on the team that is suppressing everything, and then you're not on the good guys team. I could tell you that. So there's people that are jumping for joy and happy that our videos are being suppressed and whatever. I got a few things to talk about tonight. I got to get started here. So, sorry about that, folks. Had to get ready here, get going. Once we get to 300, we start talking. We get to the story, and tonight is a pretty good story. I always save some of the best, not all the best, but some of the best for October. October is when everybody decides to talk about all the weird stuff, and that's what we're doing. Never been a big Halloween fan, ran a nightclub for years and that didn't participate in the Halloween thing a whole lot. It's big money night if you're into that, but it's not really been my thing. But thank you, Maddie, for that. You want to say hi before you take off? Let her jump in real quick.
Hey, everyone.
Wow, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're here. Come on back. Considering
because hide and see when I'm sick. He's sick.
That's pretty bad.
Because I've been and I don't watch any of this. I really don't. I don't look at it. But I've been hearing that there's this the Goodyear blimp. You know the Goodyear blimp. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Goodyear blimp has now taken human form.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you
With
guys know.
tacky purple lipstick.
Yeah, and has this really grimace, and the Goodyear blimp had a baby.
Okay.
I think that's a good description.
Yeah, and so she's
Perfect
now she
image.
thinks she's Kane Chung, and so now she's talking about us. Well, here's the funny thing I got to say about this, and I have to say this is hilarious. You are wasting October to dwell on and idolize and commit idolatry with us, folks. You, the paratroopers, you love us, but you're not worshiping us. That's what these people are doing. So while we're over here talking about stuff that has to do with the paranormal, they're going to be talking about us. And so apparently tomorrow is their big expose on me. Let me explain to you how much I care about that. Once again, it is this. I'm just going to go. Oh, that's good.
It's a great game plan.
Oh, we're waiting for people to join here. Let's get the reenactment here. Good friend. Hey, what's up, man? Oh, okay. Oh, it's good friend. What's up, good friend?
That's his name.
Huh. Oh, they are. They're talking about me again. Okay, I know you don't pay attention because you're a mechanic. You have a life, you have a job and everything. But yeah, that's every day. No, literally every day. No, I'm not joking. I'm being serious. Like every day of their lives, every day, they talk about me. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. We're just friends. I mean, well, no, because you don't worship me. That's why. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know that they're now on the air talking about me again. Thank you so much. I'm going to go take a nap. And folks, if you think I'm acting, I'm not. Because the difference is, and it is very simple and it is glaringly obvious. And once we hit 300, we're going to get the show, like I said. They talk about me. I talk about this stuff. I talk about this stuff. They talk about us. This is what they do. And they now go back and then they rehash everything from years ago, 2 years, however long it's been, a year.
Like it's some big reveal.
Yeah. They rewrite history. And then they throw people's names in there. Like, for example, my friend Bettina, who I was on the phone with just an hour ago. And yeah. And so all of the talking and all of the things and all of the breath that you're literally wasting, all you have done is make it easier for us to go and deal with you legally. And I really am going to have to do that at some point, but you're not a priority. But it will have to happen at some point because now we have so much material.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
exactly. So it's going to make it a lot easier. And the fact that we've given these people cease and desist and they decided to burn them and play around and goof off. Lawyers don't issue those just for the fun of it. They have to have something suable to let them know you're on notice. So, yeah. So all this time you've been playing around and doing stuff, and we know you're all broke. Okay?
That's why they're mad. Broke people are
Yeah.
always mad.
I ain't saying there's some broke, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't playing with no broke. Okay. We're not rich, right? But we do make investments, and I will liquidate those at the end of the year so that I can deal with this. So just keep on rioting and playing and doing whatever you're doing. And like I said, people are going to come here for one reason, because of the content, and also because they like me and I'm good looking. That's a little bit of a joke. Yeah. Mom says I'm pretty. So, and also, if you look at these people, I'm a racist, but I have three
absolutely.
people of color. Supposedly, one of
colored
their
fellas here.
yeah, there's a communist, a real communist. He's from Portland, and he loves him some one of those guys. I'm not gonna say their names. The cosplayer, he loves that guy. So it shows you who they are. He says that I'm always attacking people of color, which is an absolute lie, considering I just got the phone with Bettina.
Well, you got three of them right here. Why don't you?
Well, I actually interviewed
Why don't you start attacking us?
a black person earlier, and one of the people that I interviewed for this episode was Native. But you know me, I'm literally Hitler, right? Not only am I Hitler, I'm also Stalin, Pol Pot, and Mao Zedong. If you could just throw them all together, and if they had a baby, it would be me. I am literally the worst human being that has ever walked the earth. And I've said all these horrible things. And another thing, too, let's go back to these people here. Y'all are here against your will.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Because I control your lives. And you guys are you can't think for yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, wait.
Wait, what's my line?
Wait, read.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Oh,
Just like we rehearsed,
we're supposed
guys.
to laugh. We're not supposed to read laugh now. Okay, my bad. My bad.
Oops.
Well, what I suggest is everybody stop what you're doing and just attack us, because that's what they really think in their little minds. They got brains the size of chickpeas, and they really I don't want to insult chickpeas. They're actually good. Nick Valenti, a good friend of mine, told me about I need to tell y'all about that. It's a chickpea
Pasta?
Pasta, yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. Here's the crazy thing, all right? You can rant and rave and make all the videos you want. You can take everything out of context you could possibly take. You can and you can make up lies, which they do, and they say, he literally said this. No, I didn't. They make up stuff because we have so much material. That part works against us because they can make up a lie and say, in those thousands of videos, he said this and that. No, I didn't. They have said that I have said some horrible, terrible things, but they don't have any textual proof of anything I've said or done. It's all just what they say on the show. They clip it and then they make it out to look like I did this. I'm going to make you a deal here, folks. I promise you, when they're done, they're going to make my videos coming up. They're attacking Maddie and Anthony today and tomorrow and yesterday and the day before.
Well, they turned me into a 3-parter with, Fat Titty Cluffington.
Wow.
It's like, shit, tell me you're obsessed with me without.
Well, let's not say their names because I don't give them any airtime.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this. You can make all the videos you want. You can start tomorrow and make a video about me every day of the week, which stupidly you're going to do until the end of October. And guess what? We're going to have more people, more views, and we're going to do way better than you because here at PRT, we're about the business as usual. This is just the killing time until we get to 300. And you guys are going to literally be the sicko butts of all the jokes. I will never stop because you will never stop. You are obsessed and you're jealously obsessed. And as much as I have to say, I am impressed. Part of me is getting off on y'all being the way you are. I'm not gonna lie. I've been laughing all day.
Oh, everyone's been laughing.
Everybody's been and my friends are just laughing with me because you're that stupid. Because you think that they get what? Maybe I'm going to take a guess here. 50 people or how many? I don't know how many people they get in there.
Well, we got to take into account all their fake.
Yeah,
profiles.
most of it's fake. So you maybe have 50 people that'll go over there and look at it, or you'll have my people that look at it like a curiosity. And I'm not discouraging anybody from going and looking at it. Once you're done watching it, though, please report it to YouTube because what it is slander, harassment, bullying, misinformation, and it's hate speech. So please go ahead and go and report them. It's a very obscure channel. So if you can't find it, don't worry about it. I'm not going to even promote their channel, but it's this girl, when she was young, she was a witch. Now she says that she's a Reformed Christian, so she's going to witchinize everybody around her. No, I don't think you ever stop being a witch because you're cursing us with everything you say. We're going to pray for you, but I got to say, I have not stopped laughing for days about how obsessed you are and how giddy they were when they promoted it. They said, this is the month of our big celebration. And I'm thinking, oh, good. They're finally going to get with it. And they're going to make some videos about the paranormal. No, they're not making videos about paranormal. They're making videos about us.
Making videos about people making videos about the paranormal.
Now, this isn't a huge, yeah, exactly. This isn't a huge win, but 3 people. 3 people. Now, I know that's only 3 people, but 3 people have messaged me in the last 2 days and said, I went over there and I was watching this, and they were telling us how horrible you are and what horrible people you are. So I decided to go back and check you out. Now I'm hooked. Only one, I'm not gonna lie, only one of them said they were hooked. The other 2 said that they were going to start watching us now because they liked what they saw. In a roundabout way, that's what they were saying. But one of them was like, hey, man, I'm absolutely hooked.
Well, how the turnstable.
How the turntable.
Yes. So here's the thing here, and usually their leader, he talks like this. He says, good evening, abnormal people living in a trailer with roaches like me. That's how he starts talking. But there's this woman, and I'm telling you, she is in love with this guy. So she believes, maybe she believes, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's just in too deep, that this is her love interest, right? So go look at the guy from Star Wars, where Luke is in the bar and Mos Eisley, and he says, my friend doesn't like you. I don't like you either. That is him. That is literally him. He has retired from movies because he, obviously the scars and the laser burns. And now he's living out in Oklahoma and he's making videos, right? He also has a fascination with my pig. He wants to eat my pig, right? So stay away from my truffles. Leave him alone. He has nothing to do with this. He's completely innocent, although he dislikes you too. And he likes to laugh at you. We laugh pretty regularly. But that being said, I just had to say that I cannot believe, and I'm actually kind of happy because this means you've made it. When you have the haters that will literally focus on you night and day and waste their October talking about you, what does that say? What does that tell you?
Pissed off the right people.
Well, and the person, hosting, these amazing exposés, it's like you just destroyed any chance of your channel going anywhere. So congratulations.
Yeah, it'll never do anything. But that was the plan because the guy in Oklahoma, you know the deal. Yeah, that's you. You actually are using her channel because you got 2 strikes against you from messing with us. So you're afraid of that 3rd strike. He also has multiple channels, and he has about 100,000 different profiles. And he runs around pretending to be me and Abe and Joe Doyle and everybody else he could think of. And you can run around like rats on a sinking ship. Happy Halloween. Because here at PRT, we have things to do. As much as I like to sit here and roast your balls in my hibachi, I got things to do. Now, you can take and clip this and go and do and say whatever, run and tell that. Okay? Because what you're going to do, you're just going to take a bunch of clips out of context and have me saying stuff that look like I'm a rant and raving lunatic. And honestly, sometimes I do. And still, people come and watch me. At 235 people, which isn't the final count for tonight, we already have more people that will watch any of your videos ever in the history of your channels.
And we haven't even gotten to the paranormal yet.
But wait. When he was out there whispering to himself out in the woods, the parody video that we did of him, which he tries to pretend like he doesn't understand that's a parody of him. Let me tell you something. Well, you were out there doing all that goofy, funny video. He got 10,000 views on it. Now, I suspect these are probably bots, but that's, whatever. And
mostly probably from China and India where the bot farms are.
Yeah. So that's awesome. You did that. Okay, folks. So just letting you know, a lot of you have reached out to me and told me that they're making videos or whatever, and I'm already aware of it. And I'm full on just, I'm not going to lie. There were a few people that were like, man, this is horrible. I was just laughing. I was like, no, do you know what this means? They're so focused on us. What can they do? You're going to waste your whole October while I have to work and do other things and live as an adult, because adults that wipe their butt and clean their noses and go to work and do things, these people don't do that. They're dirty. They're disheveled. They're full of demons. That's the only thing I can think of. You're just full of hate and demons and vileness. And now remember, we're doing a giveaway tonight, and all of the merchandise that we give away tonight will be cursed according to them, because they did the right thing and they videoed themselves burning PRT merch.
Oh my gosh.
You can't make
You
this
got
up.
me.
They literally
They literally say that we give away our merchandise.
Yeah.
So that we can send out curses to people. It's not because we want to promote our show and grow it and do something.
We just want to curse people
and do something to give back to y'all. No, it's actually because we're doing chicken bone magic. You see, we get old chicken bones from a KFC, Popeyes,
rice, chicken, rice.
Churches usually has the most black magic worthy chicken bones. We do chicken bone magic over the sweaters, over the beanies, over the hats, the stickers, the keychains, the tumblers, the shirts, all the stuff that we send out to y'all for free. It's covered in chicken grease from our chicken bone black magic. Sorry.
Then I put on my dancing boots, do my little duende dance in circles.
Yeah.
Just for good measure.
Yeah, we got Maddie hopping around with a flame.
Well, here's what's the funniest part about it is that you make these. You put these texts and whatever when me and Maddie had the falling out, because it was planned by one of them. You set it up. Well, her grandmother was dying in the hospital. You knew she was distraught. So she lashed out and said some things. This is the mark of true Christians, that you can forgive and go on. I don't even care or remember most of what was said about that. Was I upset? Yeah, absolutely. I was upset. Were things said between me and Maddie on the phone? Absolutely. Were things said between me and Anthony on the phone and in person? Yes. Did we share these feelings with this person? Yes, we did. And they chose to go, and because it didn't work. It didn't work. So they chose to wage war. And they joined up with other people who that's what they do. Because you know who you are that started this mess with Maddie. You are a person who was never going to be really a part of PRT. No matter how close you got with people around me, you never got close to me. And you don't have a bunch of texts from me, buddy. You have texts with other people who trusted you, because I didn't trust you. So all you got is hearsay, and you're just going to say lies that I said. I got witnesses to what you said. And I'm not the one who went and got a guy's name tattooed on my butt. All right? So let's just remember that. You can call me the Iron Bull and all this other bullshit you come up with. It's all just fun and games to me because it's not true, and you will never find one true witness that can corroborate anything you say. You claim you have all these receipts, but we got the receipts, and they're all in PRT News. So go and knock yourself out, folks. Join PRT News and go in there and have a laugh because you'll see the people that come at us and attack us. And you think that you're really doing something when you just get 100 bots in there to look at you and then 15 deranged lunatics. Good for you. But I'm going to send a message to the entire community. Why don't we focus on the paranormal? Why don't we focus on Bigfoot and Dogman? And let's talk about these weird things that happen. Let's talk about the aliens and the skinwalkers and the ghosts, all that stuff, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what this channel is. And tonight, I'm going to show you how it's done, right? How to take reports, take encounters, and turn them into something worth listening to. Instead of just sitting there being a blobfish and just
A bitter blobfish strike
parroting
again.
a bunch of texts that happened 2 years ago that nobody gives a crap about but you. So way to go to destroy yourselves and your channels. Okay. Now, that being said, I got to move on to another subject. And I got to say, this is something that's really bothering me here. And has nothing to do with these people. Anyway, I just thought I'd send that message out there. Thank you for that, joining that. So tomorrow night is the members only, right?
Mm-hmm.
Members only. So tomorrow night, we're going to have the members only. Join up, get your name in green, right? That will get you the episode every Thursday. And that comes out at what, 7 o'clock?
Yep, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. And then we've done a lot of recording, and all three of you, along with Dick Richards and Abe Cius and Maddie, you guys have all been a big part of the recordings that we've done. And we've already got all the shows together ready for the entire, we have everything planned out for the entire month. You're going to get a show every month. If you join the Patreon and you join the members only, two different things. Members only is a YouTube exclusive on Thursday. Patreon is $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier. You get a swag bag after 2 months. After 6 months, you get another swag bag, and it keeps going every 6 months. We're going to a new delivery system that starts on Friday. So we didn't get it delivered this week, but we're going to get it done Friday. We're going to be starting with a new carrier, a new service, because we just couldn't get it done with the other people. And now we got Tuesday, which is the Patreon. You get a show now too with the Patreon. So at a $10 minimum is a pretty good deal. And so it helps the show. So join those up, and please, if you feel it in your heart to donate and help out with the show, we appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Claire says he had 10,000 views. Yeah.
Gotta love the first of the month.
Well, he also made a video before that saying, "I'm gonna make a show and it's gonna get 10,000 views," and he said what he was gonna do, and I was like, "Knock yourself out! I don't pay for that crap."
It's a hell of a thing to spend your welfare check on.
You can go ahead and pay for it if you want to. That's what you want to do. So now I got to make an announcement here, and this is with a heavy heart. I got to say this, and this really sucks. And as much as it's been fun to sit there and laugh at these people and take my mind away from this, I got to say a little something. My dog, Oliver, one of our favorite beings on the earth, passed away last night in the middle of the night. I think it was about 3 or 4 a.m., right? 4 a.m. God rest her soul. Rest in peace, baby. Baby was our little gargoyle. She was not the prettiest dog, but she thought she was.
She was a sweetheart.
She was such a sweetheart. My wife had trained her. She brought her with her when she came, but I always called her my dog because she was we were close. I'm close with all the pets, but I really had a special bond with her, and my brother did too. And I'm going to tell you something. This is really weird and sad. But she used to like to bring us paper.
Yeah.
Like
it wasn't just paper, though. It was anything really lying on the floor. She was like a little
socks
scavenger. She was like, "This isn't supposed to be here. You need to clean up the floor."
Like, look what I brought you.
Yeah. And she was so proud of it. And so when I would go downstairs to the study to do my work, she would look frantically for something to grab, even if it was just a crumpled up leaf.
Yeah.
Or a tissue that one of the other, she didn't get in the trash. She wasn't a trash.
She had to bring some offering.
But the other dogs would get into the trash and, Beans when she was a puppy. And so she'll grab a Kleenex or something and bring it to me. I'd be like, thank you for that. And then I'd be like, you're so pretty, baby. And she would turn a little circle and she'd look at me like, yes, I know. But she was a healer, not a blue or a red healer like the dog. She was a Schnauzer mix, but she was a healer. And what I mean by that is that she was, if you were sick or you had an illness, she would come and she would sit with you or lay with you. And I promise you, she would take part of that sickness off of you. And I love that dog for that. When I had gout last September, she was coming into our bedroom. She didn't normally sleep in there. She was sleeping in my bedroom. She brought her, I'm not joking, she brought her own little pillow and set it up in the corner of the room. And I told my wife my knee was propped up. I couldn't hardly move. And she kept jumping up there with me and laying on my knee. She really did this. And I told my wife, I said, look at this. This dog is determined. And then she would be in pain. I could see her, like she could barely move. She would limp back to the pillow and lay down and sleep for hours. Then she would get up and do it again. And I figured out what she was doing. I told my wife, I said, she can't. I sent her away. I didn't want her in the room because I didn't want her taking on that pain that I had. And she was doing that. And it would take the pain away. And the swelling went down. And I believe, especially with my knee, she did help to alleviate that. And so rest in peace, baby. And I love you. I'll always love you. You're a very special animal. And she went out to the farm. My brother had the vid, and he was not doing good. He was very sick, very ill, and he wasn't getting better. But he insisted on wanting to be out at the ranch, not the farm, it's a ranch, but he wanted to be out there on the ranch. And so baby went with him. And baby's health declined quickly, and my brother's got better. And I am of the opinion that she took the sickness from him because, as Tony, as you the one that said, you know, that you thought that maybe D wasn't going to do, he wasn't doing so good. You know, maybe he wouldn't make it. So we were kind of going out there and checking on him. He wasn't getting better, but baby she started getting sicker. And then Jessica says, how old was the dog? She was 9. And baby got more ill and D got better. And so I believe that she saved him. That's my opinion. And I just, I'd seen her do this with other animals. She comforted our dog, Miss Kitty, when she passed in 2018. Baby was only a couple years old at that time.
She did the same thing with Sweet Pea.
And she hovered around them. When Truffles came and he was just a piglet, he was not supposed to be a pet. My wife rescued him at the rodeo. A good friend of ours, he's also my insurance agent. He puts on these bull riding events. And there was a little bunch of pigs there, little piglets, and they were real cute. They were domesticated. And my wife took the runt and was carrying them around. And we were at the rodeo, and I told her, I said, what is that? She said, oh, it's a baby pig. I just got it in my jacket because it's cold. I said, really? Yeah, well, I don't know who gave you that, but we're not taking it home. She's like, I know. I'm not going to try and take it home. Okay. At the end of the night, the event's over, talking to my friends there, you know, talking to a couple of the bull riders. And then I told Nellie, I said, go take that pig and put it back where it came from. There's no room at the end for that animal. I said, those animals grow big. You know, she's like, well, the parents aren't very big. I said, that's what they told you. I said, but pigs get big. And I know. This is a potbelly pig. And then it turns into an SUV. No, I told her, you're not bringing that pig home. Well, she was determined, but then she decided to relent. She says, okay, you want to be mean, you know, whatever. Thank you for that donation. And we appreciate that. And she takes the pig, she goes and she puts it back with the other pigs. I petted a couple of them. I was like, okay, you know, good luck with your lives.
That's the pigs.
And I heard the lady that owned the pigs. She says, and the guy says, what are you going to do with these leftover pigs that didn't get taken? You know, and she says, well, we're going to sell them. There's a Mexican restaurant there in town, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, excuse me. She says, yeah, you know, these animals, I got no place for them. And, you know, they're pigs. I mean, you know, we're going to sell them and they'll buy them, you know. And I said, oh, no, can't do that. I said, we can't do that. So I grab Truffles.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know you, dude, but you're coming with us, you know, and I can't save all of you, but I'm going to save him. And Nellie was like, "Thank you so much," and took him. Well, little guy was real good. He just real sweet. We get him home, and he's terrified. And he don't know anything or anybody. Beans runs up to him. It's like, "Hey, I'm Beans. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Why do you look different than me? Huh?
What are you? What's your name? What do you want?
He's looking at her like, I'm just here." So he runs and he moves himself between two chairs and he sits there like a predator, like a prey. And he's looking around, going, and everybody was coming at him a million miles an hour. Martis was trying to calm him down. I'm not even joking. Martis and Baby were the ambassadors of the house.
Oh yeah.
And guess who went up to him and made friends? Was Baby. The next day, I see him laying there, and he's laying on Baby, and Baby's licking his head. She was there, and guess who was on the other side? Martis. They took care of him. And when we got this little pen for him, we put it in there. Baby would scratch, and we'd let her go in there, and she would play with him. And he liked Baby. He was kind of freaked out by Beans, not going to lie. Elvira and Pandra just looked at him like he was an oddity. And Martis would jump in there and go and lay down next to him and just chill with him. And we have a video of Martis actually licking, what's her name?
Story. My ferret. Yeah.
Giving her,
grooming her.
These are the animals that take care of us, Martis and Baby. And Baby she was a special one. She was a good one.
She was the best of us.
She was the best of us. Her and Martis, and we almost lost Martis the other day. He got loose and he ran outside, and of course he usually stays right there in the yard, but he took off going around the neighborhood, and he was terrified. We got him back, and he was shaking. I don't know how. We don't even know how he got out.
Yeah,
but
he was scared.
He's a little sentinel, and he's been a good animal. But I didn't want Baby to go out to the ranch. I wanted her to stay there with me, but I felt like I was being selfish. And my brother was sick, and him and Baby are very close, and so I let her go. They just don't live long enough. That's the thing. They don't live long enough. So tonight I jumped ahead. This was going to be the Sunday episode, but in honor of Baby, I wanted to do this episode because it involves a dog and this man. Now the dog's not the huge part of the story, but I thought it would just make sense to move this one, and then the one about the Oswang will come out on Sunday. And so Neil, I let him know he's the guy that I talked to that I'm going to do his episode tonight because his dog did do a lot for him. He had a very special dog. And so it was Malinois and German Shepherd, good mix. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to do the show. We're going to do the story. I know I'm emotional. I get upset. I'm sorry. I really am. I just told myself I wasn't going to do this. But I can always look at these dummies and laugh because that makes me laugh all day long.
It's always the nice comedic relief over there.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I hate to be like that, but they're so stupid. It's so stupid. And the futility of your efforts is just, oh, God. So anyways, but prayers for Baby that she makes it to where she's supposed to be. And prayers for the rest of the animals because today they did act weird. It's like even though she was out at the ranch the last week, I think they knew something was up because Martis has been acting weird and Panzer was acting weird. Elvira just keeps moping around and she's not real playful. Her and Beans were really best friends with Baby, and the cats loved her too.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I mean, the puppies, these wild maniac, obnoxious at times. I love them too, though. They're cow dogs, they're, and border collies. But guess who is always really gentle with them? Baby. And the other one is Martis. He doesn't get upset with them. He'll have enough of it and he'll jump up on a box or something. But those two are just really special animals. And now Martis, I guess you're the lone sentinel. He watches, he patrols, because him and Baby were the ones that kind of watched everybody. So now I'm going to get a really vicious vicious Canaris. Come to the house. Come visit.
Cujo.
He won't hurt you. He's only 200 pounds of terror.
He won't hurt you. Just don't make any movements.
Sudden moves, yeah. I'm about to get him though. He's 6 weeks right now, but when he's done, yeah, and then he'll be my buddy. We'll be hanging out together. But yeah, because I have to protect my house, you know, folks. There's a bunch of weird, crazy people out there who say and do a lot of weird, unhinged, crazy things, right? So, anyways, you want to say goodbye, Maddie? I know you got to run.
Bye, everyone.
All right, see you. Get out here. All right,
It's good enough.
Gotta go practice my, Duende curse dances.
yeah,
Boys only. Get out of here.
yeah, and then make sure that you. Yeah, this is the He-Man Woman's Hater Club.
Yeah.
Well, make sure that you say a bunch of horrible texts and get us all riled up.
Yes.
Like, because, we just hang on to that, especially if it's 2 years old.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you. Drive safe. So, anyways, folks, without further ado, we need to get started here on the show. Thank you for being patient. We had to get 300 people in here. We usually don't get as many people on Wednesdays. We do on Sundays. Not a big deal. And I promise you, and I'm going to say this, and this may be bragging. I don't care if they take it and put it in their video. They're going to do it anyway. You will never achieve the success that PRT has. You will never be what we are and who we are. And you will never be able to do what we do. And you will never have the audience that we have because everybody here is real. They're not bots. Okay? All right? And although these crazy people, these cranks, they say all kinds of crazy things. One of the funny things I got to say this before we go, the mad roofer, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a crazy, indignant, crazy roofer guy. He said that I admitted that I am worshiping something besides God. I am worshiping some kind of demon, or that I've admitted to this. When in the heck, what alternate reality did the Mandela effect or CERN or whatever shoot you off into when you heard this? Because nobody here is going to buy that. Okay, I know who God is, and it's the Father of Christ. Now, he worships this weird Old Testament angry, vengeful God that tells you not to pray for people and to curse people, and that's what they do. So let them believe what they want to believe. But I just got to say, man, keep them coming because you are providing hours of comic relief. I can't stop laughing at the stupidity. When you go to PRT News, you just see me making laughy emojis. That's because all you can do is laugh. These people are absolutely nuts. And it tickles me. And I know other people are telling me, well, they're dangerous. Be careful, blah, blah, blah. And they are. Maybe they're dangerous. But I just can't stop laughing at the sheer insanity of all of this.
I just think of that Breaking Bad scene with Walter White.
You want to put yourself on the deal when you talk?
You think I'm scared when I hear a knocking on the door?
Yeah.
I'm the one who knocks.
Yeah, I honestly don't care. I just don't. And when they say that they are told not to pray for, please don't. I don't want prayers from those kind of people. Because to me, their prayers are curses. I believe that. I believe that they're cursing.
Well, I mean, if you're praying for bad
things,
it's the same thing. What's the difference?
Yeah. I mean, that's all a curse is. It's you directing negative energy to someone like a spear to just stab them with it. I mean, if you're praying for someone's downfall, death, yeah, that's a curse.
And if you're praying against somebody's depredations against you, that's one thing. But nobody's doing anything to these people. We're not attacking these people. But I do feel kind of like I've arrived, though, because I have such a, it's like they hate me so bad. It's like your hatred, it keeps me warm.
Yeah, when the morons hate you, that
anybody can have a fan club. When you have a hate club, that's how you know.
It says, do a country voice. There were 50-foot angels protecting my bushes. He came and while I was burning some bush, he burned my bushes. And the 50-foot angels came and stomped them out. And I prayed, me and my wife, after we did copious amounts of cocaine, we prayed for 4 hours, crawling on our knees. And then I called Brother Cosplayer, and he said, let me get some sunglasses on before I can show you my face. Then we FaceTime while he wore a scarecrow mask, and we stomped him out some more on the astro plane.
on an astro turf.
Woo! Sorry, man. I can't help it. Ooh. Shoot, dude. Because they can make video after video. And you might get a few hundred people. I don't know. Maybe real people. I don't know. I could come in for 1 hour, just talk, and I'll get a few hundred people. And you'll have it'll be 1 hour, not days and days and days into infinity. That's the difference. And they know it. They know it. In fact, all of those people, I'm going to send you a message, burn anything of PRT. I don't want anything that you could curse us with. So do yourself a favor and burn it. Get rid of it. Get it off of you. Icky poo, icky. But don't do it while you're wearing it because you're so stupid you'll burn yourself up and then they'll blame me.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there talking to the Lord and I had on a hoodie and it was PRT, so I lit it on fire and I burned myself. I have 3rd-degree burns around my body. My head, breast, neck, chest, face, and anus. And now I'm burning. It's horrible. And Josh Turner did this to me. He did this. Him and Leviathan.
It was actually spontaneous combustion from the combustion curse that they put on their shirts.
All right. So here's what happened. I had a guy named Neil reach out to me. And now he's Hispanic and Native. He's not Navajo. He's Hopi. But he says that he's Hopi and Native, and he lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico. When he was young, now this may have been a prelude. I'm going to start with the beginning here. Neil told me, this is what he said. He said, when I was a young man, he said that I never lived on the reservation. He goes, my mother was Hispanic and my dad was Hopi, or his dad was Hispanic, his mother was Hopi. And he said that she didn't grow up on the reservation, neither did he. He said, but we have family all over New Mexico and Arizona. And he said one of his best friends was 3/4 Navajo. His mother was half Hispanic, half Navajo. There's a lot of that there in New Mexico. Hispanic, like, because, a lot of Hispanic people, they don't realize, like, they're from Mexico originally. They have native blood too. And in fact, I think it's like 70% of Hispanic people have native blood. It's a crazy high number. So his mother was half his friend, right? And his friend's name is Nathaniel, and he goes by Nathaniel, not Nathan. I made sure. He says, I go by Nathaniel. I said, okay, Nathaniel, we'll call you that. So it was Neil and Nathaniel. Now, Nathaniel, his dad was Navajo, so he was 3/4 Navajo, and he did live on the reservation at one time. These events took place in the early 2000s. Now, here's what happened. While they were living in Santa Fe, his friend lived down the street. He lived in an apartment complex. I'm not going to give the street and all that away, but because his grandmother, his abuelito, still lives there, his grandfather and grandmother. And they're very old. They're in their 80s, 84 and 86, I believe. His grandfather's 86, his grandmother's 84. And he said, he goes, you can talk to anybody in my family. He goes, these events are true. This really happened. And he said that there was a man, and he went by the name of Uma. That's all they don't know if that's his real name, if that was a name that he made up or it was given to him. He was a full-blooded Navajo, supposedly. Now, here is the key word. We don't know 100% who this guy is or what he is. We only know that he was visited a couple times a year by 2 ladies. And when talked to, one of them talked to Neil's mother. He said, I was 8 years old when we moved into this apartment complex. When these events started, he goes, I was 13, 14 when it really started getting weird. Now, he tells me this. He says, my sister was 18 when I was 13, and she moved out. She moved away. She's like, I'm not going to be a part of this. This is weird. There's a bunch of weird stuff going on. And I'll get into what happened. The first thing that happened to him, he goes, he was 7 years old and they were living in his grandparents' house. His mother and father had separated. His dad left and he never talked to him again. Well, he did talk to him, but not until years later. His mother never talked to him again. And like I said, his mother is Hispanic and his mother is Hopi. His dad was Hispanic. His dad was also in and out of prison. And he told me, he says, it's not the way you want to live your life. You don't want to have a dad that's and when he does see you, he's like on hiatus from prison. It's not something that you aspire to. But he did say this. He said, when we moved to Santa Fe, we were living in another small town outside of there. He said, and we moved to Santa Fe. He said, man, the week before we moved, he goes, everything was packed, everything was in boxes. He goes, and I'll never forget, it was the first paranormal experience I remember. And this was in 2001, and he was 7 years old. So he was not a very old child. He was born in 1994, and he's not a very old guy. And so he said, I wake up and I hear this poop, 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 like something's bouncing around or moving on my cardboard boxes. He's like, and I look across my room and I see this weird glowing bluish, kind of like turquoise. There's a lot of turquoise there in Santa Fe. He said people sell it, they buy it. It's very popular. He said, and so I thought, what is this? Is there something that my mother or my sister maybe put in my room? He said my sister was 12 years old at that time, and she had like these different glass statues and things. So he thought that's what it was. And it was this weird turquoise glow. And he said that he looked across the room and he saw this spider. And it looked like a spider. Like it just looked like a turquoise spider, and it was vibrating. He goes, and he sat up. He goes, and I got scared. He's like, I got really afraid. I was terrified. And he's like, and I didn't know what to think of it. He goes, so I took a pillow and I threw it and I hit it. And then it jumped off the box, you could hear it crawling around the room.
Hell no.
So he goes, and so I start looking around. He goes, and then I look under the bed. And when I look under the bed, where the spider would have gone, he goes, there was this glowing, greenish blue, kind of like the way he described. I'm not gonna say it was a clown because he was very specific that it wasn't a clown, but it had like the white face, and where the nose and the eyes area was kind of red. Mm-hmm. But it looked almost like how like a native would put like war paint on their face, around their face. And he thought that that's kind of what it was. He said years later, he was at a rodeo in Albuquerque, and his best friend had gotten a job working at these stables. And so over the summer, and so he ended up going there and hanging out for a little bit. And then he started working there. So he goes, for about 2 months, I worked there was this rodeo. And he said, and I was 14. I'll never forget. I see a rodeo clown come out, and he's like a native dude. And he's got this headband on, and he goes, and I see the red and on his eyes and his nose. And I'm thinking, holy crap, that's what I saw. The face was very pale, but it was native looking, but it was like, to him, it looked like, I don't know, like it was a deceased person. Right. And so thank you for becoming a member, Ricky Precision. And thank you for everybody that donated. We got Debbie Cothra, Stephanie Meacham became a member, and donated. Thank you for those that donated. We appreciate it. It keeps the show going. It really helps a lot. And it's appreciative. And like I said, tomorrow's going to be a tough day. We got to take our dog and bury her. And it's just, anyways, we appreciate people becoming members and taking an interest in the show and showing up and listening. Please like and subscribe and tell people about the show. And a show that's this hated by a handful of people that are that obsessed, we got to be doing something.
It's got to be good.
We got to be good. So this entity, whatever it was under his bed, but it didn't make any sense to him because he was like, why is this thing here? Because there had never been anything ever in that house. And he said, I like living in that house. And it was because my dad was out of prison and then decided that he was going to leave. And then he got back to put the bed. And my wife, my mother, his wife said, you know what? I'm done with this guy. My mother said, we're out of here. I can't be the wife of a convict that just keeps getting in trouble. So they decided to move to Santa Fe, which was about 100 miles away, and go live with his grandparents. He said, when we first moved in with our grandparents, we were staying in this little 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment, and it wasn't very big. He goes, my mother and me shared a room, and unfortunately, my sister got her own room. He goes, and I hated it. I hated having to share a room with my mom because my sister was so mean. She wouldn't let me sleep in the same room. So she would cause all kinds of problems. So my mom was like, okay, fine, you get the room, whatever. He's like, so I slept on one side, my mom slept on the other, and my grandparents had their bedroom. And he's like, and so after about 2 months, we got our own apartment in that same complex. He goes, we were 2 buildings over. And he said that the thing was, he goes, we moved into that building. He goes, and there was this guy who would sit outside of his apartment. He would always sit outside and he would smoke a pipe. He goes, and he just looked, if you just looked at this guy and you didn't know any better, you would just look at this guy and be like, oh, it's just a nice little old calm little old man.
Yeah.
He looked like a little native guy with a little pot belly. He wasn't fat. He just had like a pot belly, and he just looked like somebody who was just, there, in their later years or whatever, just living their life. He said, but something was weird. He goes, my sister and her friend were coming home from school, and they got off the bus. He said, and they were walking by this guy. And he said that this guy made this weird grunting, growling noise. But they noticed when they looked over at him, he was sitting in one of those old metal chairs. You know how they have the white, like the armrests are white, and then there's different colors like green, orange, old metal chairs. And if you're really heavy and you go to, they could bend completely down. He's like sitting in one of those kind of chairs. He was describing. He said, and the guy would wake up and then kind of rock and then kind of go back to sleep. They said this guy was like he was sound asleep. And then he just starts growling and grunting. And they're like, what the heck? So his sister and her friend just ran by this guy. And when they ran by him, he opened his eyes and reached for him and then went back to sleep. Can you imagine? What the heck? So when he said that, they came in the house and they were hysterical. Hey, Wendy, how you doing? Wendy Guizdala. And so when they came into the house, they were absolutely in hysterics. And he said that my sister, I know they're playing video games. I'm trying not to be bothered with this bull crap, And I'm just like, yeah, right, whatever. He goes, I didn't believe it. I didn't think nothing of it. I had one experience up to that point that I could remember, and that was that weird native under my bed that maybe or may not have been that turquoise spider. He's like, so I knew that was weird, but I had nothing to do with these people. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was totally dismissive of it, and they were screaming, yelling. My mom was freaking out. My grandmother was there, and they were all like praying and all this stuff. He goes, and I'm going to be honest. He goes, I didn't pray. I didn't participate. I just thought it was my sister being her typical stupid self. And he's like, boy, was I wrong. He said a couple days later, I was walking by, the guy's sitting outside and he's smoking from his pipe. He goes, I noticed that the smoke coming from that pipe smelled weird. It smelled like marijuana. He goes, but I'm not going to lie. There was a sweet, sickly smell to it. He goes, and it also had like this weird smell that was kind of like, it smelled like death. And I don't know, he goes, I don't know how many people, have ever really smelled what it smells like. He goes, I didn't know what that smell was. He goes, years later, he's like, I had a job. He goes, years later, I worked at a crematorium where they did, some whatever. And he goes, and I had the job for about a month. I couldn't take it. It wasn't something for me. It's not for everybody. I can tell you that. I wouldn't want to work there. But he said, he goes, I felt like it hit me like all of a sudden. I was like 21 years old. He goes, and I was like, whoa, that's what that smell was, So here's what happened. He goes, I walked by the guy and I smelled that. I'm like, what is that you're smoking? He goes, and I said it out loud. He goes, and I didn't think nothing of it. And I was with my friend, that lived in my complex, and my other friend who was Navajo, he had been dropped off, down the road. And we're on the bus, and we're like, at this point, he goes, I'm like an 8-year-old kid. And the guy looks at me, he goes, don't you worry about it. He goes, because kids that worry about things like that end up in my pipe. And so he looked at this guy and he was like, what? Like, and his friend, though, he said, my friend Chris was kind of Chris had an attitude. He gave him a little smart mouth. He goes, really? You're going to put us in your pipe? We're kind of big to fit in your pipe. And he started laughing. He's like, and this guy didn't laugh. He just scowled at us. And he's like, and I just thought, okay, there's something really off with this guy. I'm not going to mess with this dude. He goes, I just walked to the house and I went in and I wanted to tell my mother about it. He goes, but I was afraid. I was really scared by this guy. He's like, there was something just spooky, really off about this guy. He goes, and I was not about to challenge this dude. And, my friend Chris would hang out with us. His mother would get home about an hour after we got home from school. He goes, and my mom was really cool. She worked all the time. She was a nurse, but she also would make cookies and have stuff left for us. She was a pretty good mom. He goes, and so he ends up eating some cookies with his friend, and he tells his friend, he goes, you need to not go back by that guy. He's like, go the long way. And his friend was like, well, if you're that worried, why don't you walk me? Since obviously you're my mom. He's like, my friend's like that, right? He says, okay, I will. He goes, and oddly enough, he goes, my sister was sitting there and we're all eating these cookies. And she's like, you know what? I'll go with you guys. So she grabs her sweater and they start walking and they ignore this man who's kind of up on the hill, like away from them. They walk around and go to his building. And then, and he's like, okay, well, thanks, guys, whatever. About an hour after dark, a couple hours after they got home, he says, I get a call from my friend and he's frantic. And he's telling me, he's like, Neil, it's Chris. He's like, are you messing with me? And he's like, I'm not messing with you, Chris. I'm doing my homework. And he goes, okay, well, I was trying to do my homework. And hang on one second. Sorry about that, folks. Work. And so then he says, he tells him, he says, I'm doing my homework. What's going on? He goes, well, my mother is running late. She's got to work late. She had a retail job. And he says, and my dad is, gone for the week because he's working at this other place or whatever. And he said that, or his dad had a job out of town. And he tells him, he says, I'm here alone. He goes, and I think somebody came into the house. I heard breathing and I heard noise. And then I heard somebody like they were laughing. And I heard noise in the kitchen. He's like, and I heard my dog growl, and now she's in the room with me. And he goes, and she won't stop growling. And I'm really terrified. I was hoping that you and, maybe our other friends were playing a game. You were playing a trick on me or something. He says, you know what? I'll be right there. He goes, dude, I was scared. He's like, I'm not going to lie. He's like, I'm not a big kid at that time. And I'm like 8 years old. He's like, and my grandmother was there with us. And so he goes, you know what? I said, Grandma, can you call Grandpa and have him? Because he's not, my grandpa wasn't like frail old man or anything. And he's like, can you tell Grandpa maybe to, to come help us? He was just in his 50s. He wasn't very, very old. And he says, oh, she's okay. So she calls his grandfather. He says, my grandfather's a big, strong guy. He goes, when I was born, he goes, my sister was my mother was only 18 when she had her. Right. And he said that, when she was like 14, he's like, my mom's only 32, we're only 5 years apart. I was, 20, she was 23. And her parents were in their early 20s when they had her. So do the math. I mean, he's only in his mid 50s. He's like, he didn't look a day over 40. He was a big, strong guy. So he shows up and he's like, what's going on? And tells him. She's like, yeah, there's something going on at my friend's house. Can you walk with me over to his apartment? He says, sure. They get almost to the friend's house and the door is open part way. And he's calling his friend. His friend won't answer the phone. And his grandfather says, okay, step back. And his grandfather carried a weapon. And he's like, I don't know what's going on here. So his grandfather, who was auxiliary police at one time in Albuquerque, and said, look, just step back, let me deal with this. And he's a retired firefighter. He opens the door, goes inside, and kind of sweeps the area, and then realizes, hey, there's nothing going on. There's nobody in here. And his friend is not in his room. And the dog is in the bathroom. So he says, that was so weird, man. He goes, and then we go back to the house. And he goes, and we didn't have a cell phone on us. My grandparents didn't have a cell phone at that time. In 2001, everybody had one. He goes, I didn't have one. We get back to my apartment, and my friend is there, just in tears, shaking and crying. And he's like, it was so weird. He goes, and at that time, the phone, my grandmother was on the phone with my friend Nathaniel. At the same time that this happened, or a little bit after this happened, he goes, my friend Nathaniel said that his grandfather, who was a former reservation, he used to live on the reservation and practiced medicine, and did all kinds of stuff. Not medicine like a medicine man, but he worked as a nurse and a charge nurse. And his grandfather had come home early, and they saw this weird shadow-like being walking by one of the bedroom doors, and it pushed the door open. And while they were sitting there together playing a video game, his grandfather used to like to play this baseball game with him on the video game, Nintendo, whatever. He said that they stop and they look, and then his grandfather says, "I'll deal with this." And he gets up and does some prayers and some chanting, which is basically just repeating the Lord's Prayer, things like that. Not native chanting, but like. And so he tells them, he says, something happened over here. He's like, and his grandfather said, you need to call your friend. Like his grandfather's very intuitive, right? This guy, Nathaniel. So he calls Neil, and there's no answer. Then the grandmother sees the number, calls back, and then they're having a conversation. At the same time, Chris comes over. He's like, so we're all being affected. He's like, my sister's friend was there, and she was like, it's that old man. She's like, I'm kid you not. He looks like he's an old man, like in his 60s, 70s, whatever. But it's him. He's doing this. At that time, his grandfather, and the grandfather I'm talking about is not Nathaniel's grandfather. It's Neil's grandfather. And his grandfather says, wait, hold on. He goes, are you talking about the old man right there up on the, he says, yes. And he goes, oh boy. He goes, okay. He's like, have y'all talked to him? He's like, do you remember when you moved in? And I said, anybody sitting outside, anybody doing, don't talk to them. And I told you specifically not to talk to that guy. He said, I look at my sister, and we both had kind of this look on our face. I would call it like a sheepish grin, kind of like, yeah, we shouldn't have done that. And he says, yeah, we've both spoken to him. He says, I told you not to talk to him. And he goes, and I told you to tell your brother, and he pointed at his older sister, not to make eye contact with him. The grandmother goes, come on, kids, let's sit down at the table. And they all sat there and they prayed. And they had Nathaniel and his grandfather on the phone. They all prayed. They're all Christian. And when they prayed, he goes, I felt better. I felt like something changed in my heart. I felt good. He's like, but I knew better now not to talk to this man. He said, he sat me and Chris down and my sister and her friend, and he says, you don't understand about that man. He said, I've been living in this complex for 20 years. He's like, that guy was here for 20 years before I came. You know what that means? That means he came in 1981, right? Or in the early 80s, over 20 years. He said 1980. So over 20 years, he was there, right? 1980, right? To 1990. 1990 to 2000 to 2001, right? Like 21 years I lived there. Now, you stop and you think about that. He says, that guy was here for over 20 years when I got here. When I first got here, he looked like he was maybe 40, right? Maybe 50. He's like, he hasn't aged much at all. He looks like maybe he's 60, right? He's like, do you see what I'm saying here? He's like, that guy is not a normal person. He is not a normal man. He's like, and he got into it with two of our neighbors years ago. He's like, and they both got really sick, one after the other, and they died. And he said, that man, I believe, has something, an ability, something on him, and he is evil. He goes, he has said curses to me and my wife. I don't talk to him. I just say, God bless you, and I look away from him. I don't talk to him. That's the only thing I will say to him. I will not engage him in any way. He says he's here on a Section 8. He's like, but the neighbors that befriended him, that passed away, a husband and wife, they left behind 2 children and their grandchildren. He said, let me tell you something. He said, when that man showed up here in the early 60s, he told those people that he was born in the 20s, in 1922 to be exact. Now, if you do the math, 1922, right, to 2001, he's basically 80 years old, and he looks like he might be 60, 65, right? If that's to be believed that that's even how old he is or how young he is. He said, but the neighbors told us, they said that one day he came over there with some food, and he gave them this casserole. After they ate it, they had all kinds of problems. Not only did they get sick, he's like, but they started having all kinds of issues. They started seeing these weird shadows. They saw something that looked like a giant praying mantis crawling along their wall that was the size of a man. Not even joking. He said this thing looked like a giant insect type looking thing. And for whatever reason, the guy's wife really believed that it was him. It was that guy. And whatever he gave them to eat, go back and listen. Have we played that Patreon episode with Scott?
Yep.
Listen to Scott's encounter and how he was taken. Go join the Patreon and listen to that episode.
That was our most recent Patreon episode.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Go listen to that episode, folks. If you're on the Patreon, if you haven't joined yet, join Patreon and go listen.
It's really engaging one.
It'll tell you what the heck is going on. So these people got really sick. And this guy, when they would come out of their house, he would laugh. And they were like, what did you give us? What did you do? He goes, I didn't give you anything. I gave you what you wanted. He's like, you were talking the other day about how you wanted to be something. You wanted to be powerful. You wanted to have all this money and all this stuff. He goes, all you got to do is just follow the teachings. And this guy tells Neil's grandfather this, right? This was years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. He said, the teachings of what? He goes, let me know when you want to learn and the pain will stop. He goes, and the teachings will teach you. You can follow it. You can be like me. He's like, you can do anything you want. You can live forever. They got freaked out. They don't know this guy. They're not Christian. They don't know this dude. And so they went to the apartment manager and said, this guy gave us some food and now we're getting sick. We've been in and out of the hospital. We got skin lesions. And this guy's telling us all this crap about how, but they're telling the wrong people. They go to the police. They tell the police, this guy gave us something. He got us sick, blah, 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 blah. And the police are like, you ate a casserole. You ate it all. I mean, we have no way to know what was in there. You've gone to the hospital. They can't tell you what's wrong with you. So they're talking to the wrong people. But day by day, he kept telling them, he's like, just ask me to stop and it will. This is how evil this man was. He says, let me teach you. He's like, you have anger in your heart. You have enemies you want to destroy, right? And he goes, well, I was talking about my boss. He goes, well, don't you want to destroy him? Don't you want to get even with him? Don't you want to do this? Don't you want to do that? He goes, if you have all these wants and desires, he goes, let me help you. I can teach you. He's like, but you are going to have to make a choice. So he tells the wife and he tells the husband, if you're willing to part with somebody that you love, that you really care about, and you're willing to cross that line, he's like, I can give you anything you want. He tells the guy's wife this. Then he tries to seduce her, and it almost worked. She said that she told this Neil, his grandfather and grandmother, that she was like under some kind of spell almost. Like he came over and was messing around with her, and they almost consummated the affair. Then she breaks down and tells her husband, and of course he flips out and he strikes her. Then he goes over to this guy and starts, wanting to fight him and all this other stuff. And the guy says, she's a harlot. She did this. She tried to seduce me. I was trying to help. He's like, and like I told you before, because he'd been working on both of them, right? He's like, if you want to be rid of her, get rid of her. And then you can be like me. You can live forever. Look what I can do. And he showed him his hand. This is what the guy told Neil's grandfather. And it elongated and turned into like this weird claw. He said, imagine being able to manipulate time and space. I can do that.
I don't want to be like you.
Then he tells him, he says, who are you? And he says, well, I used to be on the reservation, but I got driven off back in the 60s because people were scared of me. He's like, and they ran me off. He said, because there were others like me that were jealous of the ability I had. So then this guy, they are sick, and one of them's in the hospital, the guy's wife. This guy goes and he tells his friend, who is Neil's grandfather, all this stuff. And he's sitting there telling him this story. And he says, listen to what I'm telling you. He said, this man did these things. He told these people these things. This man is not a good person. He told them that they could transcend death itself. Told him all this crazy stuff. And he goes in, as my friend was dying after his wife had died in the hospital and they couldn't figure out what the heck was wrong with her. She aspirates. She's gone. He's like, I'm next. I feel like I'm cursed. He goes, and maybe I should just go along with this guy and maybe then I'll live. He says, and he tells Neil, he says, I know that me and my wife are responsible for telling him, no, don't do this. because it's better to die in the Lord than to live in the world of Satan. And so he passed. He died a few days later, dying on the floor in his house with terrible stomach cramps, vomiting, and on the floor was this black fluid. Yeah, he goes, my wife found him, on the floor. She went over there to check on him with another neighbor, and they found him that way with the door partway open. They always suspected this guy had done these things. When the police questioned him, he says, I never said any of those things. That guy's crazy. I don't know what he's talking about. He goes, and so he goes, me being the person that I am, he goes, I couldn't take it. He goes, I went over there and I confronted him while he was sitting on his porch in his little cheap metal chair that he's had forever. He goes, and I sat there and I told him, I was like, stand up. And he says, for what? He goes, because I'm going to teach you a lesson. He goes, if you don't get off my porch, I'm going to teach you something. He goes, and he stands up. He goes, and his arms and elongated and his face drooped down and turned into the only thing I can describe it as a weird muzzle with a snarl. He's like, and when I saw that, he goes, I turned around and I ran back to my apartment. He said, that guy is evil. And that's why I told y'all. And even though I had this talk with you and I told you, you still talk to that man. He said, and it was weird because after he started telling them, he said, my sister was like, yeah, I remember him telling us this. How could we have forgotten, and we know that he had told us, but not that in depth. She said she was thinking that they had been like kind of bewitched, that this guy had basically like gotten into their heads and made them forget the lessons that he was teaching them. So he goes, so I'm getting off the bus one day, and this guy, he's sitting on this bench right there in this little park where we have our apartment complex, and we're walking by this guy, and he goes, like he growls and barks at us. He said, and my friend Chris took off running to his apartment, and this guy's just laughing, and it's this demonic, bellowing laugh. And he goes, at that point, I was so upset. He goes, I couldn't take it. I turned around and I was like, what are you? Who are you? And this guy goes and gets down on all fours and starts running toward him. Now, he's not changed into some kind of wolf or anything like that. He's just on all fours. And he tells him, he says, I'm your worst nightmare, kid. And this dude is supposedly really old, but he looks like he's like late 50s, early 60s. So he takes off running back to his apartment, and he's crying. And at this point, his grandfather's there with his mother, and they're very upset. So they call the police. The police come, and they talk to this guy. And he says, I don't know what this kid's talking about. I've been sitting here whittling on my porch all day. You can ask any of my neighbors. He goes, and then there was a neighbor that was a lady that lived next to him that was terrified of him. And she comes out and she says, yeah, he's been sitting right here. He hasn't moved. When they go and ask a couple of the other neighbors if they had seen him sitting on that bench by the park, they were like, no, we hadn't seen anybody. We saw a child talking to himself and then run. That looks really bad because it looks like Neil is just full of crap. When they asked Chris about it, Chris was so scared, he just said he didn't want to talk about it. And the police were like, well, nothing we can do. There's no crime. There's just children with overactive imaginations that are thinking that there is someone doing or saying things, and they're all worked up. And so every time they called the police, it just made it look worse. It was like they're harassing this guy. So then this guy tells him, he's like, well, these people are just harassing me. I've done nothing wrong, even though there were reports going way back. And one of the police officers caught on to that. And he went back and he talked to the family and says, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, this guy's name has come up on police reports going back decades. And he's like, and it's confirmed at this point that he was a lot older than he looked. And he was like, how old is this guy? Did he tell you that he was? This is his grandfather. He said, well, from far as I can tell, he was born in 1922. His ID. He has an ID. And this guy served in World War II. And he was he served and helped, whatever. He's like, and really weird about this whole situation, he's like, he also volunteered during the Vietnam War as a code breaker, like one of those people that they use for the codes and all that. But they declined. They didn't, because he was a troublemaker. because he had stayed in the military when he got out of World War II and he was in Korea, but he was labeled as a troublemaker and they kicked him out for insubordination and other things, weird things. And so, and I'm not privy to what those other things are. So one day they're walking by and this guy is not outside. He's not there. There's nobody. And so that happened 2 or 3 days in a row, and this guy was always outside. So Neil goes and he tells his friend Nathaniel, he's like, I think something happened to this guy. He's not around. And Nathaniel's like, well, my grandfather said that, that he's a career criminal. He's had a lot of problems, and eventually he's going to get arrested, right? So then his friend Chris tells him, he goes, man, I had a horrible nightmare, a terrible dream. He tells him and Nathan on the bus. He says, in the dream, this black wolf comes knocking on the door. He goes, and in the dream, I can see it. I'm out of my body. I can see it. And then I float down and I open the door and there's nothing there, just a gust of wind. Then I look down the hallway and there's this black wolf walking into my mom's dad's room, and it grabs a mouthful of money off of the dresser and then runs back out. He's like, and then the next day he goes, my parents, have a big fight because my dad thinks that my mother took a bunch of cash and spent it. He's like, so I go and I tell them, I said, I had a dream that this wolf took. And then they're like, they turn their attention on him and blame him. And so he gets a spanking and gets all kinds of trouble. He's like an 8-year-old kid and they're blaming him for this money coming up missing. So he says, I don't know what to make of it. It's weird. So here's what happens. A couple days later, the neighbor eventually, they knocked on the man's door because he hadn't paid his rent. He was trying to pay the rent. And the neighbor says, I haven't seen him outside. He's usually sitting outside harassing everybody. He's not there today. They go inside the house. They find the guy. He's deceased. His body is expired. They find $230 in his pocket. That's all they have. The amount of money that was taken from Chris's parents' house was $230. That was taken off of the dresser. They also find a necklace. And it was this little necklace and it was 100% Chris's mother's necklace. It was a thing of her and her sister that had died. So it was like this locket, right? And he had that too. He also had other things. And the apartment manager was, after they found out that there were a few different things that people had that were missing, she was inundated with messages saying, hey, I lost this, I lost that, blah, blah, blah. Somebody had lost a money clip, a bunch of different things. They found most of this stuff. Yeah, like he was some kind of magpie. How he was going and getting these things, we're not 100% sure. But my guess is he was doing it as a spirit. Here's what ended up happening, though. This was only the beginning, because Neil and his friends had a tiger by the tail. And they didn't even realize it. He goes, we were out playing basketball. That's right down the road. We had a basketball court. And it's it's the apartment complex, but it's right around the apartments down the road, whatever. Because the complex was like two sides. He says, and we're over there playing. He goes, and I stopped. My friend Nathaniel says, look. And he goes, and we're all there. Me, my friend Chris, and Nathaniel, and a couple of our other friends. And my friend Jesse points, and we see what looks like a big black wolf. We don't see the whole body, just the head. And it is staring at us, and it's got these yellow eyes. And one of the things that was interesting was his friend Nathaniel, when he walked by this guy one time, when he was going to stay the night at his apartment with him, they were going to do a project, him and Chris. And he says, we're over there at we're going to stay at my friend Chris's apartment, whatever, but we had to go to my place first. He says, Nathaniel was stopped by this man. This man told him, he says, he's like, you're Navajo. And he says, yeah, I am. He says, so am I. He's like, so you understand? He goes, you understand me? We're the same. And he says, I guess so. And he's like, why do you hang out with these mongrels? Why do you talk to them? Why are you friends with them? He says, they're your natural enemies. And this is a weird thing to tell like an 8-year-old kid. You know, Nathaniel's like, well, I don't really look at them that way. I look at them as my friends. He says, no, anybody who's not a Navajo, and they have a name for it. It's Dene, right? Anybody's Dene is like, that's the people. Just like my people is Comanche. They say Nurmana or Namana, right? And so Dene is what they call it themselves, or the Navajo. And so he says, he goes, they're not Dene. He goes, why would you be talking to them? He goes, they're cur, they're dogs. You shouldn't talk to them. And he says, do you know what that word means, cur? And he says, yeah. And he says, okay, well, you know what? That's what they are. He said, huh?
Calling them dogs.
Yeah. And he says, he goes, I've eaten many of these people. Tells him this is a kid. He says, and when he says that, he goes, his eyes turned yellow, glowing gold for a minute. And he was like, oh, what the heck? And he says, he backs up. He goes, and he looks around. His friends are gone. They ran inside the house. He goes in and he goes, man, that guy is weird, dude. He's talking about being a cannibal and doing all this crazy stuff and going into people's houses. And it's just crazy, right? So after this guy passes away, they think, oh, okay, well, now things are going to stop and chill out because the man finally passed away. He was evil and he's gone. And this was like, by this point, it was 2002, right? So the guy lived to be 80 years old, but he didn't look very old, right? Now pay attention to the story because it gets weirder. So what ends up happening, this guy is gone, but about a month after he passes, they see this weird wolf watching them from the woods, and then it runs and it just bounds into the woods and it's gone. They're bouncing the ball back to the apartment, and they're just like, what the heck was that? So Nathaniel says, well, I'm gonna get on my bike and go. He lives a few blocks up the road, not that far. I'm gonna go. He says he gets about 2 blocks down the road and this giant wolf comes out of nowhere. He's like, and he's riding his bike, and he goes, and the next thing you know, it's up on 2 legs. And this was 2 weeks before Halloween, right? And he says he sees this werewolf-like thing. He's about 6.5 feet tall. He thought it was maybe a person in a very elaborate costume because it kind of looked like it had a skin hanging over it. He goes, but even though it had like a weird wolf-like skin over it, it still had the snout and face of a werewolf. He says, and the weird thing too, here's the weird thing. He said around the eyes, there was like this red paint, which looked like it was,
like what he saw.
Yeah. Well, no, that was his friend that saw that.
Oh, yeah.
Before he moved in. So he's running away from this thing on his bike. He goes, and the next thing you know, he goes, it's dark. He's like, and I'm freaking out. He goes, I get back to the house and my parents are like freaking out. His mother, anyway, she's like, where the heck have you been? And his grandfather was there waiting for him. And it's 9:30 at night. And he's like, what? He left his friend's house at 7:00 to go like 3 blocks. He goes, I got chased by this wolf. I don't even know what it was. He's like, dude, I'm freaking out. He goes, and then he blacks out. Like he goes and he sits on the couch. He blacks out. He wakes up. He's in the hospital. This is his friend Nathaniel. They say that he had a severe panic attack and that his blood pressure had dropped really low. His pulse had gotten really high. And then he was unconscious. He wakes up. They give him these IVs. They're like, oh, you'll be fine, whatever. And then his grandfather gets in touch with Neil's grandfather. And they're friends. They're not great friends, but they know each other. And he says, look, he goes, I think there's an issue here. We got something going on. And when they meet, to talk or whatever, he goes, we made it at this pancake house and we're in there talking or whatever. And his grandfather tells him, he's like, he goes, what do you think is going on here? Because something had gone into his house because Neil's grandfather doesn't live with him. He says, and something had come into my house and attacked me in my bed. And when I opened my eyes and looked up at it, it had these green eyes and it was salivating and it just looked like a wet, nasty dog. And it left behind like this slime on the bed sheets. His wife was out of town. She was visiting relatives and she was like in Albuquerque or Los Alamos, something like that. But anyway, he's like, he goes, I'm sitting there and I had this weird dream. He goes, and so he's telling him about it. And Nathaniel's grandfather says the same thing. He says, I have seen this weird black like shadow that looks kind of like a blob just kind of comes into the wall of my grandson's room while he's gone to school. He's like, and I see it take the shape of a wolf and then run through the other wall. And then he goes, and I'm chasing it around the house, trying to scream prayers at it and stuff. And it's just running from room to room. He's like, and the next thing you know, I wake up and I've been asleep and I have a massive headache and I'm on the couch. This is not normal stuff. This is not something that should be happening, folks. This is absolutely bizarre. When they had this talk, they left their wives out of it. They left everybody out of it because they thought that maybe they could figure out what was going on. He says, look, this is the Navajo. He tells them, he says, you're Hopi. He goes, you dealt with this guy over there who was a Navajo for all intents and purposes. He's like, I'm going to say it. He's a Skinwalker. He's like, and you and I both know that that's what he is or was. The thing about Skinwalkers, though, he says, is this. They can make you see things that aren't really there. They can get inside your head and they can pollute your minds and your thoughts. They are purely evil people who have completely given themselves over to the dark side. He goes, and at times they can transcend death. He's like, how do we know that this guy is really dead? He's like, did you see the body? He goes, no, I didn't. He goes, yeah. He's like, and it is weird, though, that he died just all of a sudden. He's like, these things can live to be over 100 years old. Easy. It happens all the time. Eventually, he goes, the people on the reservation will figure out something's going on, so then they'll move away. He's like, that's what this guy did. He goes, yeah. And I think that this guy is up to something. So he says, I want to find out if this guy's really passed away. So he goes and he talks to a friend of his who was a coroner. Well, his friend knows the coroner, and the coroner says, yes, we found him. He was nude. And he was, but here's the weird thing. There is a trap that you can lay for these creatures when they leave their body. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but it's the cutting of the silver cord, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'm going to talk to one of the people from the res that knew this guy. He's like, I got a lead. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to these people. I'm going to see what they say. They don't live there anymore, but I'm going to talk to them. So he goes to another town to talk to these people who no longer live there, but they know him. They know of the story. And so they go out there to talk to him. He says, I can't take you with me because you're not one of us, but I can maybe talk to these people. He goes out there and he meets with these people. When he comes back, he tells them this story. This is what he told. And this is what Neil told me that his grandfather was told by this guy. He said that in 1962, this guy had done something really bad to some people that were neighbors of his and caused a fire. He wasn't there when the fire happened, and he proclaimed his innocence. And, of course, he's like, well, I'm going to get revenge on you people for blah, blah, blah. They always do bad things and then claim they're going to get revenge, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's all getting revenge because you got caught.
Yeah.
He's like, so then there was this young girl in her late teens. She was walking home from school and she got attacked and bitten on the shoulder, and her arm was nearly taken off by a giant wolf-like creature. This is the daughter of the people whose house, or the granddaughter, people's house had burned down. The family automatically suspected him. So he was threatened and he was even shot at. And so he ran, he took off, and then he wasn't seen again. He's like, and these people said that this guy plagued them for months and months and months, continuing this ongoing war, going into their houses and looking like a shadow. The lady said this, though. She's like, my grandmother, whose father was a medicine man, before he passed, he told her how to get rid of this guy. When he comes back, and he did this all the time. He would go into these people's houses for years. He did this. When he's going into the house as this shadow, there is this long cord that'll come out of his umbilical, even if he's like a wolf. And what you got to do is cut it. And there was a very specific way that they had to do it with this light and stuff. And she says that I think that my grandmother did this. And I think she did it beyond the grave. He's like, she had been tracking this guy before she passed away. She died in her sleep. And he goes, I always thought that somebody suffocated her. Right? This man continued to do these things to these people's family. The grandmother, the matriarch of that family who passed away, came to this girl in a dream, the one that was the mother, the one that was attacked, and said, to get rid of this man, you must cut his cord. When he comes into the house, when this man when this being did this, this woman had a dream that this giant, ravenous black wolf had jumped through her window and was crawling up onto the bed. Her grandmother came out with what looked like a silver blade, who had been sitting in the corner. Like this was just like this, shape that she just, in this, it was a dream though, right? She comes out and she's like, I got you. And she grabs the cord and cuts it, physically cutting it with this silver blade. And then she says, rest in peace, my child. And she's gone. Then this guy turns frantically looking around. It's a man now hopping around on all fours, no longer a wolf. And it looks like, for all intents and purposes, a human, but like elongated limbs. And he's like frying, like literally. She's like, it looked like the sunlight that was coming through the morning sunlight was burning him like a vampire. And he jumped out of the window. She's like, and I watched him shrivel up and then just kind of fade away. She's like, and now she goes, you've confirmed it for me. I didn't know where he was living or what name he was going under. She's like, but you confirmed it for me. He's gone. So my grandmother did her job, eventually tracking him down and finding him on the astral plane and getting rid of him. So he was cut from his body. But why is this stuff still happening? Well, a lot of these skinwalkers are so evil, they can transcend death. It's not an instantaneous where you go to hell immediately like some people like to believe. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not always the case. These beings don't have any guilt to be put into hell, right? And until the judgment, let's put it that way. So that's not necessarily my belief. That's a belief that they have. So this guy continues to do these things. A couple of notable points that I got to make here, and points, but part of the story. Neil, who's laying in his bed, he's like sitting there and he's jamming out, and he's just like, he likes to play drums, right? So he's sitting there and he's messing with his drumsticks and he's like playing some music on his headphones. He looks over to the corner of his room, and once again, he sees this spider, and it's crawling up the wall. It's not a normal spider. He said they had a cat. He said the cat was staring at it and hissing, and we kept pushing him. His cat just kept on and kept on. And so finally, he's like, he looks and he sees the cat, and his cat's name was Cowboy. And he said, Cowboy, chill out, man. And finally, the cat runs and lunges at the spider. And at the last minute, he sees this, what he could kind of looks like a spider, but like a shadow, turns, and it turns into a hand, and it grabs his cat and throws it. And this, what looks like a native, old, scraggly, shriveled up crypt keeper looking native guy comes out of the wall. Doesn't look like that guy that died. Mm-hmm. Doesn't look like him at all. Until he stares at him for a few seconds, and he's like, it does look like him if he was a lot older, like if he was his age.
Yeah.
So you take like a 50-year-old man and give him 30 years, that's how he looks. And he's like, oh, crap, dude. And then the guy mocks him. When he says the words like, oh, shit, whatever, then the man goes, yeah, oh, shit, and then comes at him. He goes, I jump up. He goes, I had the window open. There's a window unit to the whatever, the air conditioning unit. He's like, I shove it out, fall out onto the grass, and I get up, and I'm like sitting there in my room, but I'm worried about my cat. He goes, so Cowboy's in there jumping around. I hear him, whatever. He's like, and then I realize that the window is closed. I can't open it. I can't get it back open. And I'm freaking out and I'm panicking. He's like, so I go around the other side and I realize the door is locked. And he's like, at this point, he goes, I'm 9 years old. I'm a 9-year-old kid, right? And he's like, I know that my cat is gone. Like, I just felt it in my heart. He's like, and then he's like, my sister comes walking up, and he goes, at this point, she had a cell phone, and that's all she wanted to do is talk on her cell phone. Walks up, and she's like, what's going on? He goes, open the door. Open the door. She opens the door. They go in. His room is torn to pieces. There's like what looks like claw marks. Torn, the bed, the mattress, the sheets, the pillow. He goes, everything. My posters and my cat is there. And he's gone.
Oh.
He's like, and I was so mad. He goes, my heart sunk. He goes, and I cried and I cried. And he's like, he goes, I knew that this evil bastard did this. He goes, so I told my grandfather, I said, Grandpa, somebody killed Cowboy. And I think it was this jerk, and his grandfather says, yeah, I got a bad feeling this guy's not gone. I don't think he's dead. And he says, I don't think he did this as a physical being. He did it as some sort of spirit, And he says, yeah, he's still around. He's not dead. He's, his physical body is gone. If the story is to be believed that this woman's grandmother from the reservation actually caught up to this dude and did that, that's one thing that gets rid of the body. But this guy is not going away. He's now a spirit, and he is doing horrible, bad things. His next target was Chris. This is another thing that happened. Chris and his dog, he had a dog named Sophia, and his little dog was barking and barking and barking. He wakes up and he hears her, and the dog was gone. He looks around the room. He doesn't see the dog. He can't find him, and he can't find her anywhere. So he's freaking out. He's scared. He's like sad. He's screaming. He's crying, whatever. His mother wakes up. She's like, what's going on? He's like, I can't find Sophia. He's an only child. So they go outside and they look. They can't find it. And for like a week, he's looking for this dog. In the meantime, the house begins to smell. And they can't figure out what the smell is. And eventually, he's like, they had these like little apartment communal areas, right? And it's like right there next to his apartment where he was at. There's the pool, and then there was like this little community space, whatever. And one of the neighbors found the dog underneath where the barbecue pits are. And because at that point it was wintertime and nobody was really going out barbecuing. And they found the dog pushed into underneath the barbecue pit where you open the two doors.
Evil bastard.
And he says, I know it was him. I know it was this evil man, this horrible person. So after a couple other people get attacked, the neighbor lady that was there, she got attacked. And this was years later. She was already very, very old, already elderly. And something scared her so bad, she ended up going to the hospital because she had a mild heart attack. She claimed that it was this weird insect-looking creature that jumped up on top of her with these weird arms like a praying mantis. And that sounds weird, but sometimes these beings will take the form of these weird entities. And so she sees that, and it terrifies her. But it wasn't the first time she'd seen it. She'd seen it once before when this guy threatened her. So she thought, well, this guy's gone. Ding dong, the witch is dead, right? No, he's still doing what he does. Neil's grandparents decide to take action. They go to the church. They go to church, and they weren't Christian, but they were, So they meet up with Nathaniel's grandfather, and his grandparents, whatever. And they all go to the church, and they decide that they're going to talk to a priest and maybe do a rite of exorcism. God works in mysterious ways. This priest was from Spain. He was not a normal whatever. He was visiting, right, this diocese. And he says, I can help you. He says, what you're dealing with, and this is what he called it. He says, you're dealing with a skinwalker. He goes, but you're not just dealing with a skinwalker. He goes, you're dealing with a shape-shifting werewolf. He said that when he was in Barcelona, that he had dealt with something like this before. And he said that if you want to get rid of it, you have to do these certain rites. And they did it. They were going there day after day. They denounced it, put holy water, salt, all these things around their apartments and their houses, bleed the blood of Jesus over everything. It was basically they did what they were supposed to do. And for each and every one of these people involved, the predation stopped. They didn't have any more issues with this guy until Neil is like 22 years old. He's moved to live with this woman, and he's living in Albuquerque. And he said that I hadn't, he goes, I'd put this behind me. One day, me and my wife, or she's his wife now, but back then they were just dating, whatever. He said, I had put all this behind me, and I decided, okay, this was a crazy event that happened to me. It's it's over. It's behind me. I'm not even going to worry about it. Scary, yes, but nothing I couldn't live through. I survived, and so I'm not going to make it into a federal case. He says, we start talking. And she tells him, she's like, I've been having these dreams. She's pregnant. And there was this old man that looked like a native that showed up. He goes, and it was like in the dream, he comes just like gliding out from under the bed, pops up, and then tells her the baby is mine. When she hears this, she freaks out. She wakes up and this thing turns into black smoke and goes up into the ceiling and then kind of comes down like a snake and goes out the door. She tells her, she's like, this is, what is this, And he says, look, I don't know. What did he look like? When she began to give him a description, he knew immediately what that was. And he says, oh, man. He goes, I thought that this was over. He said, when I was young, I lived in an apartment complex, and there was this, tells her the whole story. And then she says, oh, my gosh. She goes, that's what I saw in the mirror. He goes, what do you mean? She's like, on our third date, we went to this pizza place. You remember that? And she says, yes. He said, I went to the bathroom, and I saw what looked like this dirty, disheveled, nasty-looking, homeless-looking guy come out of the bathroom. And he looked like that guy, the way you're describing it, kind of like a native dude, And she's like, and I didn't know what to make of it. And she's like, do you remember me telling you this? And he goes, I don't. And she goes, yeah, I've talked to you about this a couple times. Another time we were at the grocery store. She's like, and we got into a really bad fight. She goes, and I could have swore your face, like there was this look on your face, like you just kind of stopped, almost like I would call it like suspended animation. And there was this, like what looked like an entity's face, like from somebody else over his. She could see through it.
Oh.
And so she says, I've always thought that there was an attachment on you. Now, she's Hispanic. But she said, my grandmother said the same thing, that you have an attachment. And it's an abuelo, an old man. Like somebody's grandpa, what it looked like, like somebody. And her grandmother thought it was like maybe he had the spirit of one of his ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
No. This thing had been waiting and watching and biding its time. And then it struck. And that's when it struck. He goes, we had a miscarriage. He goes, and this thing laughed. I could hear it laughing. He's like, okay. He goes, a couple years later, he goes, I'm out riding motorbikes with a couple of my friends that I grew up with. One of them was his friend Nathaniel. He's like, we're out there riding. He's like, and we hear this, we're sitting there on our bikes and we're just kind of talking, chilling out. He's like, we're in California. He goes, and I hear this, like what sounds like a weird screeching noise. He says, my friend Nathaniel calls out to it. He goes, hello? And he says, when he says that, something answered back. And it says, hi there. And he said it was like an echoey whatever. They look at each other and they're like, what the heck? And they took off really quickly. And when they got back to the place where they were staying, it was a little road trip. It was a weekend getaway with him and his friends. We get back to this cabin, and my friend says, what the heck was that? The other friend, and they both knew, him and his friend Nathaniel, and they said, that's a Skinwalker. Guaranteed. That's what that was. And so he said, the stuff that's happening is ongoing. It's still happening to this day. And he doesn't know what to do about it. He's gone to priests, preachers. He's prayed about it. It'll go away for a while. They'll move. They have had a child now, but the child is now saying that she's seeing this creepy old man. So I don't know. I mean, as of this, here's a weird thing too. When I was on the phone with them, we got disconnected 4 or 5 times. And then at one point, I heard laughter on the phone, which gives me the chills to talk about that. But I heard it. I heard it in the background. And when I was talking, I said, Neil, hold on. I said, who is that? He goes, who's what? He goes, I'm just sitting here in my truck. I said, okay. Because it was late. Sometimes I got to talk to people late because, I'm a night owl. And this guy, he was outside, not to wake up his daughter and his wife. But who was that? It was a man's voice. And it was laughing. So weird, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody has any ideas,
I hate this old man. I'm
all
sorry.
ears. Yeah, he's a real piece of work.
So evil. You just can't stop. Like that's the nature. Like this story to me, like it just shows the despicable nature of evil. How
They're gonna say old
they
men.
they just had like people under the influence of dark forces, or when they willingly give themselves over to it, it's like they have this unlimited, bottomless energy for destruction, for perversion, for just anything and everything bad. But and it's such a waste because you know that if they could just take just like a fraction, just a little tiny bit of that of that energy that they use to just twist and destroy people, that they could do something positive. They could do something with it, but they just will not do it. And when it comes time to doing something good, it's like now like I don't have energy. Now I'm tired. Now I'm drained. It's a parasitic. I think it's a parasitic relationship where you have to keep feeding this entity like over and over. It's like this bottomless pit of despair,
It's like
and it's like a drug.
It's like a parasitic corruption.
Yeah, but like it's like a drug where it starts small, right? And you can appease these things with like smaller evil deeds, but like every drug addict, you have to keep getting more and more and more and more. And ultimately, like that's why I think that these skinwalkers are some of the evilest, most despicable entities ever, because the way that you give yourself over to that evil, you do it willingly, and you have to sacrifice. Supposedly, you have to sacrifice the person that you care about the most in your life. But this guy couldn't just stop there, could he? No, he had to go on and kill unalive people's pets, their dog, their cat, messing with little kids. I mean, just God,
Neighbors.
where does it end?
I mean, he literally cursed those people to death. I mean, to unalive. I mean, and it's horrible because it's like a contract in which you're just always constantly on the losing end. It's like you know once you perform that first deed, then you're just slowly giving away more and more goodness to where you just wallow in the darkness. And now really the only things that really seem to bring him any joy is terrorizing other people. And it reminds me of a story that we did not so long ago. I think it was either the last member show or the Patreon show beforehand, where it was about the Native American guy who basically was like unalived and just kept living, and it was like seen as a coyote like creature in the graveyard. And it's like, okay, so now these skinwalkers, even if they get unalived, they either continue on like in the rotting body, or they just continue on in this spirit form, constantly tormenting, because that's like the fate they're cursed to. And it's like, why would you choose that? What minor benefits could you possibly perceive that makes you think like, oh, that's worth it?
Well, because I think that's not just like it's not just a form of physical enslavement where you physically have to appease this thing. Even after you pass away, your astral body is still enslaved. You're still not free from it. And I don't even know
the contract. And it's
that that there was even a human spirit left in that old man's vessel.
Yeah, who knows?
Because it could have just like the man that he was, it could just be gone, because you know these things that they can switch, they can take your soul and switch vessels.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was just a fully perfectly possessed, like a demonically possessed vessel, or if there was just like still some shred of a human soul within that old man's vessel, but it just was just too whittled down and weak to even care anymore.
Uh, I don't know. I think he was just such an evil old man that, like, even when his silver cord got cut, he just continued and like was living off of the spirit and was like still feeding it with his anger and his hate.
They just can't stop, dude. Keep going and going and going.
Yeah, they're void of knowledge. They can't comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's so ridiculous when you really think
Think they're
about it,
smart.
because it's like you're choosing, like, I'm gonna give you some pennies, and for that you're gonna have to give me $1,000, and like that's really what the conversion rate is. And they're just, okay, I'm all for it.
Well, I kind of wanted to, like, at the beginning of the story, whenever Wolf whenever you were describing this old man being on his porch smoking his pipe, and he's in a Section 8 apartment, and the way he kind of like sells his black magic to people, like, oh, if you can have whatever you want, I can do whatever I want, I can have whatever I want, and you can too. I'll show you how. Like the irony of this old man saying that from the front porch of his Section 8
Yeah.
apartment, like, dude, how wise are you really?
Yeah,
You have nothing. You're sitting in a little dumpy apartment talking about you can have whatever you want.
but you know, though,
Doesn't seem to be working.
maybe that's what he wanted, though, to just be able to be there where he could prey on people who were less fortunate. Sometimes that's what people want. They just want. I mean,
maybe that could be true, but it's a horrible selling point.
Yeah, especially to a kid.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to be like you, mister? You stink and you're poor.
And David Buckle says he stole change from people's dressers. No, he didn't just steal change from people's dressers, dude. From what they were saying, he had a lot of jewelry and a lot of money. Like, he had taken a lot of things from people. And what was weird, though, is like he was hoarding it, like he was probably enjoying looking at it and keeping it and knowing that he had taken these things from these people. And you know what it was, too? He was taking things that were not just valuable. Like, they would be more valuable to the people than they would be to him.
Yeah.
Like the locket with the lady's sister who was deceased. He took some other things. Like, there was this one lady who had like a brush and this other stuff, whatever, that her grandmother had made with boar hair bristle brush, with like, and it was stuff that was sentimental to these people that reminded them of their relatives and things like that. So he took like one man's wedding ring that he had kept on a necklace from his wife who was deceased. He was a widower. He took that. He took those things. He wasn't just taking things that were valuable. He was doing it to be malicious and mean, completely evil. And what people need to understand is these people exist, and these beings exist, and people don't want to believe that.
You've probably met one.
Oh, we probably all have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably walk past these people in our day-to-day lives, just at the shop and at the grocery store, something, like they look like just average everyday people. You can't always tell. And hell, a lot of them, probably the worst ones, go to your church with you, honestly.
Yeah.
Like some of the most adept black magic practitioners are members of, like, active members of the church, and they have to be like very high level and knowledgeable about what they do, because to be able to just play that role and to be in a place that you in your hate despise, to be around people that you in your heart despise all the time and still play that role, like still play pretend, that takes a lot of energy, and they get this energy from these demonic attachments, from the darkness.
Yeah. Claire Porter has a question for you. She wants you to answer it. She said, Anthony.
What is the Wendigo? I know what it's to do with Indian folklore, identity made from evil Indian men and women, like a skinwalker. Well, I mean, it's similar to a skinwalker, but it's not necessarily like typically the skinwalker is seen as like a wolf-like werewolf entity. The Wendigo, it's usually depicted with antlers, but that's not really like what it actually looks like. I mean, it's just kind of a depiction that caught on. But it is a type of demonic entity that they're very afraid of. But it's like it's more of like a deformed, like I don't even know what to call it. Like the real form of it. You know, I think that the
You won't know
Wendigo
that.
is one name for what we know as the pale crawler, like these crawling kind of break-looking things. Like in my opinion, that's what it is. It's just it's a Native American name for it.
Do you want me to interject?
Yeah.
Because Claire was very specific. She
No,
says Anthony.
Claire doesn't want your answer. Okay,
Okay.
well,
I should want to hear from
Yeah, it is up to Claire.
like Claire, because she's
Claire, you're
Claire
in charge
decides.
now. We're gonna send you a link to join the show, and you take over from here.
because Claire said Anthony in capital letters. What is it winning? She wants to know from him, not from me. Either she
But yeah,
wants,
I think that
our opinions don't
yeah,
matter.
either she was testing you to see if you know,
Mhm.
or it's because you're more knowledgeable.
Hmm.
Either way, it's not a question for me.
We don't want to butt
Claire, I
in.
don't think I've seen you before. I think you were here. I think I saw you the other day in the chat, but I don't. You're not a regular here. Are you?
We don't want to be rude and butt in on his question.
Yeah, exactly. Are you playing games with us, Claire? Are you playing with us, Claire?
yeah, he never says hello, Clarice,
Mm-mm.
which is weird.
We're not salty about anything. It's just, obviously Anthony's more
It's
important.
funny, like whenever someone asks a question or something in the chat, and then they're like addressed directly, then they stop typing.
Yeah.
I agree, Maddie. He is built like a Wendigo, so he must be the
I'm
expert.
not built like a Wendigo, because a Wendigo, like, I'm not built like a rake, dude. Tony, you're built like a rake more than I am, dude. Come on.
It's
I
about
knew there was going to be like some
talking
kind
about
of.
Wendigos here.
Huh?
Talking about Wendigos here.
Yeah, a Wendigo is just like a pale. I think it's more akin to like the pale crawler. But that's what they call it. That's what different Native American tribes call it. But whatever it's called, it would look more like you than it would like me.
Well, Claire
just
saw
saying.
something in you to make her want to get this answer out of you.
A brain.
So that's all it is. And that tiny head.
Yeah, you can. I fit a lot of brain in this tiny 7 1/4 hat size head.
Is it 7 1/4?
I think so. It's a small size.
That does make sense. His head's so small, she can actually just see the ridges of his brain.
Well, if anybody else
Or
wants
my
to
brain's so
know
big it's pressing
what a
on my
Wendigo
skull.
is, I can kind of give you a little bit of a. It's not from any. A lot of people say it's a specific tribe, and they'll say the Algonquin tribe. How many? Let's do this. How many people in the chat believe that it is from the Algonquin tribe? Just say what you believe. See if anybody answers, and we'll get into it.
Tell me, people can spell Algonquin.
ALGON QUIAN. What the? Gary said his head is small and 7. No, it's not. Scorp,
Dude, if your
Your
head
head
was
is-
smaller than size 7, you'd be a pinhead, dude.
Scorp, that is not true.
Like we should.
I know how many hats you have.
if
I've
that was
seen
the
them, they're
case,
not-
we'd be
none of
selling
those
like
are-
tickets to view your head as a circus act. The world's smallest head will get rich off of it.
Oh. So nobody's really answering the question there. So the Wendigo, is it from the Algonquin tribe? I want to know.
Stanfield says, when they go back further than Algonquin tribe.
Well, here's the thing. There isn't no one Algonquin tribe. The Algonquins are a group of tribes. Algonquin is not a tribe. It's actually a language. The Algonquin, when they say it, it is a language. And they consist of the Ojibwe and the Cree and a few others. And I'm not 100%. I think the Blackfoot might be part of that too, because there's Northern Blackfoot, and then there's Naskapi and some other different ones. But the Wendigo is a spirit, basically. I got my own theories about this. I believe this, and I will say this, and I have a story that I would like to tell at some point about the Wendigo. The Wendigo is actually when you are overcome with the spirit of greed. It is like a monster, and it is greed and starvation because you are, hungry. And so this evil cannibalistic entity will overtake you, and it will use your vessel to feed. And what I mean is literally to feed on human flesh. And so the Algonquins actually are the ones that originally came up with that term. And this is what I think it is. There were tribes that were here in the Americas before the natives came. Some of them that looked like the natives, and some of them were pale, like Caucasian. And some of them had like people we've heard before, like the red-haired giants, right? But these different tribes, these different people were from the antediluvian period, and they had gigantism or whatever. They were big, they were large, and a lot of times they were cannibals. The Paiutes have a story in their history about killing the tribe that was plaguing their people. The Paiutes literally had to go underground, and they lived underground for about 2 or 3 years until finally one of their warriors said enough is enough, and he came up with a poison that could kill these entities and drive them out. The ones that they were able to defeat, they left, whatever, but then some of them went into a cave, and then there's different versions of this. And eventually they got smoked out and died or whatever. They got killed. They wouldn't come out and whatever. But by some accounts, those giants went into the cave. The cave was bouldered up. They never came out. So they may have just gone deep into the cave, went back underground, and then came out somewhere else. I think that's what happened. I think they went into the cave. They lit it on fire. The natives did. And then the giants just left. They went down into the ground and probably came up somewhere else and continued to live. And they just moved to a different region, doing what they did. Now, we don't know what the poison was, Stanfield, but that is the legend, right? Here's a weird thing about this people, these natives, whatever. There's different versions of it. There's another tribe that was said to have made this poison and done it. I forgot what they were called. It started with like an H. And then the Paiutes, there's some confusion, like whether they did that and then that drove these beings into a cave, or that they just drove them into a cave. But they called them the people eaters, and they would eat people, but they would also eat their dead, and then they would eat their own people and their own dead. And so you had these nasty, weird, cannibalistic giants. So when the flood comes, right, and the earth is cleansed of these beings, at least bunches of them, most of them. It is said in the book of Enoch, that they become evil spirits for all time. These evil spirits can attach themselves to humans and make them become cannibalistic. And you crave what these demons are putting on you. So that is my take on the Wendigo. It is really just the deceased Nephilim spirit that overtakes a native warrior or a Caucasian person. And, think of Donner Pass. And I've driven through there and I've been to that area right outside of Lake Tahoe. Well, it's between Lake Tahoe and Reno. And you go through there and it's a creepy place. No doubt that giants may have lived in that area and maybe they were cannibals. And, this guy was overtaken with the spirit of one of these Nephilim cannibals with a taste for human flesh. We know that the demons really hate us. They despise us. And, they have been wiped out and dealt with because of their predations on us as people. And so the story is that God didn't want them around, because of what they were, a pollution, And so you have them as the offspring of the Archon, the Anunnaki, the fallen, whatever you want to call them. Now, we could talk about this all day long, like what they are and how they came to be. There's a lot of speculation, but I'd say this: there is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of visitation from multiple different entities, interdimensional, intergalactic, whatever you want to call it, coming from multiple different realms. Some of them are more physical, some of them are more spiritual. It just depends. But these beings, they come, they do what they do. They get kind of wiped out or their civilization falls. There are legends and stories of the Grand Canyon and of Death Valley and of underground, these places. There were thriving civilizations and communities of giants that no longer exist. There were a couple of different explorers. I don't know off the top of my head. I could do the research and maybe do a show about it if you really want. But there were a couple of researchers, and this was back in the late 1880s, and they found like these caves underground underneath Death Valley, and they found like 10 to 12 foot tall suits of armor and all this other stuff, and ultimately they found a chamber full of these giants that were kind of like just deceased. Obviously, they were gone, but they were there in a place where it would be inhospitable on the surface completely. It's called Death Valley for a reason. You're not going to live too long out there. There's no water, but everything was underground, right? And so when you think that could have been a lost civilization of giants from way back, I mean, how many times do you think this may have happened? How many times has civilization risen and fallen? Hundreds, thousands, maybe millions. If it's 2.5 billion-year-old planet, I have a hard time believing that everything just started a few thousand years ago. And that's very short-sighted. Just because our written history is not very long, it's maybe a few to several thousand years old at the most. And I hazard to guess that that's happened many times. Things have risen and fallen, and then the civilization was, turned upside down, and the records of it go away, and you're left with whatever. And of course, these beings, when they die, they go somewhere. And now think about this. This is an interesting thing. If the book of Enoch is to be believed, these beings were killed, right? And they became evil spirits for all time. What happened to hell?
Cast into the lake of fire.
No, what happened to hell? Why are these beings not in hell? Nobody's ever even asked that question to me, not even one time. But it's something that I've thought about. What happens? We got about 20, 30 minutes here. Why don't we open up the lines? Let's do that. We'll open up the lines.
Yeah.
It's not a normal thing we do on a Wednesday. And if anybody wants to jump on and ask questions, I'll be willing to answer if you want to talk about this, because it's a good question. What happens to you when you die? Is it an automatic thing? Give me your opinion. There's nothing, we're not debating and arguing and fighting here. We're just trying to figure out what you think. What do you think? And you can ask me and pick my brain and ask me what I think, and I'll tell you.
What is your opinion?
You may not agree with me, But if you want to get on the show and you want to talk and be heard, jump on. This says there was an error.
Is it?
Well, that's fine.
There's our first person jumping on. Get on here. Pucko, well, welcome to the show. Well, it's showing that it's not connecting here. What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had a question. Yeah, my Starlink's just having a bit of a thing. I'm here. Yeah, okay. Now we're going. I had a question I was asking in chat before, because I like pondering like philosophy and things, and it's like, if people don't believe in ghosts, why do they still talk to their dead relatives and pray to the dead, right? And even in that same vein, like, we can say Jesus died for our sins, and we're praying to the dead. And I'm just wondering, like, when people say they don't believe in ghosts, and yet they still talk to like their dead father or mother or something, and they get advice and they commune and stuff. Yeah, I'm just pondering, like, if you don't believe in ghosts, how does this work? But I think they're doing all the exact same thing. It's just your mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Puck just kind of went away there. Okay, so what do you think? You think that somebody that believes in a ghost isn't going to... You don't think that they're going to... And there's Richard there. What's going on? You don't think that somebody who believes in a ghost...
Yeah, it's like the overlap. It's like, I don't believe in ghosts, and yet I talk to my dead father, right?
Who says that? Obviously, you're talking to your dead father. You believe in ghosts.
I do. I do, right? I lost my father when I was young, and I still talk to him and get advice from him, even if it's in my own head, and I'm just getting another perspective to help me think about things inside my own mind, right? It's still beneficial. I'm not saying I'm communing and doing necromancy or anything, but at the same time, I could also say I don't believe in ghosts.
Well,
and I'm just wondering,
yeah, you're connected.
Hold on,
really
man.
Bad there, Elf. What's going on, Richard? How you doing?
Excellent, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
So you want to know where the souls of the dead go?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me.
The Book of Enoch says that there's 4 chambers that contain the souls of the dead. The 1 chamber is for the righteous. The 2nd chamber is for the sinners without punishment. The 3rd chamber is for the complaining sinners. And the 4th chamber is for the lawless sinners.
And what do you assume is the difference between all of those?
I could tell you in 1 sec here, just a sec.
Okay. Excalibur, welcome to the show. Andres,
Give me 1 sec here. I'm gonna try and pull up the explanation.
Oh, by the way, you're an indentured servant. What are you doing talking to me?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I would have said sycophant, but they don't know what that word means.
And on that note, Richard, I demand you elaborate on what these chambers are.
Yes.
Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Indentured 1.
I know about the chambers. Wu-Tang.
I had a question.
Amazing.
Okay, go ahead, Excalibur.
Monday night you were talking about our souls being fractals, and I'm not a big believer in the traditional sense of reincarnation the way that it's presented, but I've been thinking about what you had to say, and it does make more sense that we could have different pieces of a soul living certain lives, and that does make more sense than if you understand what I mean by the traditional sense of reincarnation. not a big fan of that, but I'm thinking about it anyway.
Yeah, and it does make sense because that's what happens. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, but it's years of research. I didn't just come to this lightly and go, I'm just going to think of it because I read some book. A lot of times people will read a book. I don't mean books. I mean a book. It happens all the time. They'll read a book and they'll get really excited. They're not even finished reading the book. And then they've already formulated their opinion, their hypothesis, they're postulating on their theories. And then they need you to listen to it. And I've had that happen with my friends and family.
Oh, dude. I mean, in the horse world, that you read a book and they had a horse for a year and they're an expert. I'm like, oh, forgive me for having one for, all my life. I don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, it is something that seems to happen quite a bit, and so everybody's guilty of it. When I was a young person, I was guilty of it. I would read something and think, this is amazing. I've already read this. But then you start reading hundreds of other things and you go down a multitude of rabbit holes until you come to a conclusion, and then you kind of put it all together.
Right. And on the subject of reincarnation, again, I'm still, I'm formulating my thoughts on it. You hear the stories of the little, the 3-year-old boy that, I remember when the mom, the previous child that they lost, it was him, but now he's this little boy, or they remember living a certain life or whatever. You can't deny that stuff is what it is. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
So what made you start thinking about that?
It's just that, like I said, there's a lot of questions I have about a lot of things, and I can't just go, well, the Bible's the Bible and traditional Christian view stuff, because some of it's lame. But then I also don't go off in the direction of the New Age weirdos, because some of that's a little too weird. But I'm still just learning. But I think it's okay to be learning. But I do know God is God, Jesus is Jesus. That's just that. So,
Yeah. So, Richard, do you want to enlighten us and tell us?
Well, here's a quick synopsis. So the chamber for the righteous is the bright spring of water kept, and those that are contained within are kept from suffering, which is basically the ones who keep the covenant with God and with Christ. Number 2, the sinners without punishment is, what did I write down? Those that are not punished in life but face judgment therein. The third one for the complaining sinners is where the people who are killed in this life are taken aside to make righteous suit against their killers. And the fourth one, which is for the lawless sinners, is the worst of the worst, and that's where all the real bad mofos go. And that's it's fire and brimstone in that one, or the lake of fire. There's like a river of fire that goes through that one, apparently. So that's my understanding, and that's what I believe. And that everybody's pulled out of those chambers when Christ returns to judge us all, and that's when everybody basically gets everything gets settled.
Yeah. And Andres, you're here. What do you think?
But I agree with you on and Dick on saying there's different levels of hell. Most of them are obviously different from the level of sins that you've, basically, like you said, it's like credit card debt. Depending on the sins that you committed, you will be sent down to certain levels, and you will be judged when time comes. But I was a bit surprised that some souls decide to remain, whether it's because they have some unfinished business, or they just rather not go to hell just yet because they know it's going to happen. So they use anyone or anything to try and stay, or such as the person who, in the story that you were talking about today, has no guilt, according to the lore that he's a part of, that he feels no guilt. So he stays on the physical realm, this plane of existence, until Judgment Day. And I do have to agree that some of them stay here because they know their time is up, but when you mentioned them being judged, can't that judgment, assuming God and his angels intervene, can they be sent down by his will, or can someone acting as an ambassador send them down?
I tell you this, I think that there's a lot of, well, I think it's all of the above. And I think that it just depends on what's needed. I think that you could actually pass, and I think you could end up coming back as you. Very rare, but you could. Not as you, the physical. That you're only going to live and die one time as Andres, as that person. But I think you could come back as you yourself with some knowledge or an awakening during that life of who you were and who you really are. I think it comes full circle. I think that there are people too that will most of the time you've noticed the very self-righteous people are the ones that are always talking about judgment and God.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the people that are going to be facing the condemnation the most are the ones that yeah. And so you have these people that they're always just chirping about God and this and God that, and it's like, dude, you don't even have the slightest clue of who or what God is. And I noticed that with these people. There's a whole bunch of them that do that. And typically with them, it's a red flag. As soon as they start talking about the lake of fire and, you know, condemning everybody and stuff, it's a coping mechanism for them to cope with their own sin. It's kind of like when someone has a sin that's in them, when they see that reflected in others, they attack it. And it's a human nature thing. Listen to what I'm going to tell you, folks. It's a human nature thing to attack what you don't like in yourself. So, you know, and there is something to that. There are people who don't like certain aspects of themselves, so they see it in someone else and they attack that. And you've noticed that. I mean, you see it with the people who've been attacking us. What they're really doing is hating themselves. And I would hazard to guess that they probably hate each other pretty bad too, because they're all in one big group, like a bunch of orc rabble, you know, and they're sitting there attacking an establishment, an organization, a people, or whatever. And they get together and they think that if they put their numbers together, and then somehow it makes it better because they're all in agreement. But at the end of the day, you're not really okay. Because obviously, if you were okay, you wouldn't need the approval of all these other fanatical peers of yours. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the fallen angels came into agreement with each other, and look how that worked out.
Look how bad that happened for them. They got together in a conspiratorial cabal, and then look at what they did. They committed the most egregious sin. Fanaticism in any religion, I'll say this, fanaticism in any religion is a path of deceit, deception, and unrighteousness. It's a toxic self-righteousness. And Christianity is no different. Fanatic Christians worship themselves because they are emanating their own feelings, and it puts them in a situation that makes them feel like God. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
And that's a big problem. I mean, and I'm going to say this, Islam, you know, my Islamic friends will argue with me all day, but they're very bad with that crap. I mean, I've watched them like pull the pepperonis off of a pizza and then eat it while it's swimming in pepperoni grease. And you're like, dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, I do the will of Allah. I would never, I don't, because Allah, blah, 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 blah. You know, and they always seem to like really, a lot of Muslims don't like Jewish people, but their whole religion is a copycat of Judaism.
Yeah, it's very Old Testament based.
It's very Old Testament Jewish based.
Like it's basically the Tanakh with extra steps.
Yeah, all is ball.
Yeah, it's all holier than thou people that are the fanatics, and they're basically worshiping themselves because they want to feel higher than everyone else. Basically, they want the world to see them as gods. I mean, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't be judging everybody. That's the problem, that they judge. Like what's happened recently with these morons. They keep bringing up the stuff that Maddie did, you know, a year and a half ago or whatever it was. It's like, dude, who cares? At the end of the day, myself, Anthony, Tony, Nelly, all of us here at PRT, we're the ones that have to be the ones that are upset or angry with what she said or didn't say. And we're not. We forgave her and we moved on. She's our sister in Christ. She was deceived and she was upset. And these grown men should have been adults and done the right thing, but they didn't. They promoted anger, hatred, and tried to get her to say and do, awful things to me and to Anthony and to PRT. And she had a conscience, and she came to us and said, "Look, I messed up. I said these things. I'm sorry. I'm distraught. My mother, my grandmother was dying at the time, and I just lashed out." And of course, these people, they hang on to that and they use it against you. Just like they use anything I do and say against me. And I guess over the next few days, we're going to see all the juicy goodness about me. Who gives a crap? At the end of the day, we're still going to have 400, 500, 600 people in the chat, and they're still going to have nothing. And because they don't make content, they just make videos about people.
Yep. Every day this month, you're going to get something. So it doesn't even matter what they.
But they get thousands of views with 35 people in the comments.
Yeah, and that's all part of the fun, right? Just buying views. You know what I was thinking would be funny on that goofy video that we did? What was that? The one where we did the spoof of it, the parody, whatever. I thought about like buying 100,000 views on there, but I've never bought a view in my life. I've never bought a view, so I wouldn't do it. But
don't do it.
Wouldn't that be funny though? You have like 10,000, 20,000. Some of them are 40 or 50, but then this was 180,000 views just of us running around in the woods being stupid. And then I was like, I could never do that because I've given my word that I would never buy views or subs and they're always going like, he's bought and paid for subs. Not one sub has ever been bought. You can look at the, what's it called? The
Social Blade.
Social Blade.
You can see our algorithms, man. And we're not doing good with new subs right now. We're like at 180 a month or something like that. I mean, there's no doubt that a lot of these other channels are eventually going to surpass us because we're just not growing. But it's been the constant attacking, And so what happens is they stick your videos to the back, and you don't get seen. But like I said before, and I really fully mean this, I mean, I got what we need. I mean, we're fine. We have, the people that are going to be here, and nobody's running away from us and going and latching onto these morons because they come up with some other diabolical way to dissect an email or a text from 2 years ago. I mean, who cares? I'm just using them as an example, but they're not that important. But I mean, that is a microcosm of the world at large. You're seeing, who these people are, So
I found that a lot of times people will, what they're accusing you of, even with those people, obviously it's everything that they're doing because mentally they think everybody acts that way. Yeah. They think everybody's, shifty or whatever the situation. They can't believe that Josh is actually a good person. He's not perfect. He's no angel, but he used to be a major, not so good person. Then one day he woke up and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. We all have those moments. And they can't wrap their head around that because they just don't get it.
And the thing is, I walked away from a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I walked away from a lot of money, but God lifted me up and gave me more than I ever had doing all that crap. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to walk away from it. What was so hard, though, was when you could just sit there and look out and see your past was just right there. That was the hardest part, that I was still working down there. And I could see an easier path. That was a gut punch every day, but I didn't walk away. I could have just walked out of there and walked down the street and got back into my old life just like that. Boom. I never did it.
The way is narrow.
Yeah.
And it's easy. And I chose not to do it. And I'm so glad. That's one thing. I'm not a proud person, but I'm proud of that. That is one thing I am extremely proud of. And one of the things that people need to understand too is you're not going to wake up every day and just be completely happy with your life. But not being happy with where you're at in your life seems to be the order of the day. But the only reason you should not be happy with where you're at in your life is if there is something that needs to change for the better. You shouldn't be unhappy with your life if you're doing what's right, you know, and you should learn to love to do what is right and have a servant's heart. But people don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. They don't want to be a servant's heart. They want to be evil, manipulative. And the people that are going to come against you in your life, it's always easier for them to lie and scheme and connive. I've had so many people over the years, they ask me, they're like, why does it seem like the bad people always get over? And I told them, I said, that's an illusion. That is an absolute illusion. The bad people make the illusion, kind of like these skinwalkers we were talking about tonight. They make the illusion that they're winning. They make the illusion that they have all this power and control. Now, you might think they did some horrible things. They were able to kill these people's pets. But what did I say about that? These people didn't know that. But you are to not just pray for yourself, but plead the blood of Jesus over your animals. So, yeah, your pets will still eventually pass away, and so will you when it's time and in God's time. But at least you know it's not some demonic entity that did it, because your life and their lives are not for theirs to give or take. That's God's job. The only time they have any of that power is when you give it to them. And one of the ways of permission is to do nothing. If you are not lackadaisical, what's the word? Complacent.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving permission by not reacting. When somebody attacks you, your family, and your friends, and you just sit there complacently and you don't do anything, well, guess what? You're basically giving a form of permission, because it does cross your mind and then you choose to do nothing. There are lazy people. And they just a very simple prayer could fix a lot of things in their life, and they're too lazy to even do it. There's a very laziness that goes on. That's why it's a sneaky sin, but people don't realize that the sin of lethargy, that sin of sloth, is one of the worst, because that sin will cripple you from all of your responsibility. So when you don't do what you're supposed to do and lay the foundation for everything else, and your active, way of life, that lends to that, to do what needs to be done. You wake up every day, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And then you start noticing, and it starts happening. You're like, wow, this is wild. It's really happening. This is really working out. And it does happen. It does. It will work out. And it's a daily affirmation. But people are lazy. People are very lazy. How many people are going to get up every day and do the breathing exercises and take a cold shower and do all those things? One of the people said it best in our group, and it's in that PRT news, and I'm not going to get into a big old thing, but I'm going to see if I can find it here, what he said.
A lot of the best things that you can do for yourself on that note are free. Yeah, I mean, you can do them.
Mm-hmm.
You can pray and do breathing exercises just sitting on the couch. A cold shower is free. It's actually less expensive to take a cold shower. Being physically active doesn't cost you anything. Just go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point about the evil getting away with it because none do anything about it, I'm paraphrasing, but it's the evildoer flees when none pursueth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means.
That's
literally in a level in hell.
I believe it says
Punished on this realm, punished in hell for it, Dick.
I'm sorry, what was that, Andres?
I was saying, didn't Dick literally mention a level in hell is one where you're not punished on this plane of existence? Oh crap! That you're punished in hell.
Yes, the second one, I believe.
So that just what Dick and I think Anthony said that they may prosper in this life, they're not going to prosper in the afterlife.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, it is the second level or the second chamber.
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with Wolf probably last week about just like my personal experience pretty much throughout my whole life of like I would see people doing things that like doing doing bad, doing wrong, and profiting from it and getting away with it. But it seems like my whole life, the very moment that I decide to go along with them, to do exactly what everyone else is doing because I want to get what they're getting, that they continue to get away with it, but I get caught. Like the moment I do something wrong, I get caught and I pay the consequences for it. And it always felt like, man, that like they're the ones who were like getting over on somebody. Like they're getting something out of this, and I'm not. It always felt like I was the one who had to pay the price. But in reality, it's the opposite. And it's by the grace of God that my life has been like that, where if I want to do something wrong, that I get caught and in trouble immediately.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I wasn't slick enough to get away with it, which that's a gift from God. Because I don't have to pay the price, the real price, which comes after this physical life. You know,
Yeah, you're not meant to do evil, bro.
Yeah, and it's best to be punished here than spiritually. Yeah.
I have a friend that she told me the story about her stepfather. He had a stroke, and he was in a coma for a little while. And when he finally got out of that coma and he recovered, he told the story about while he was in that coma, he was actually in hell in a box. And it was a scary, horrible place. And when he recovered from that stroke, he was a much nicer person than he was before the stroke, because this was her stepfather and he wasn't that nice of a guy. And he completely drastically changed. It's kind of interesting.
It's like all the people that have near-death experiences and experience, get taken to hell. And
yeah, he said it was real to him. So who knows?
yeah, there's enough testimonials of that it'll make you believe. That's for sure.
You know, there's no fear like spiritual fear.
Amen, buddy.
It boggles my mind that there's a lot of people that, honestly, there's a lot of people that think they're saved and they're going to get a rude awakening, sadly, because they're not, doing it the way they're supposed to. Because, it's not just the, Christian church. It's got its own problems. But there's other churches that think they're Christian and they're not, because they don't teach the gospel of Jesus. And then there's other ones that are just, just you shake your head. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get a rude awakening, sadly.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of questions. I'm only going to be on for a bit. I've got my horses to sort out. But
Hey, Joel, I hate interrupting you, but if there's a way you might can turn your mic up or get a little bit closer to it, because your audio is very, very low comparatively.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand that, bro. No,
I can turn you up some on our end too.
I want to, the question that Josh, asked, and that, what, where's hell gone and all this. I was like pondering on it a bit, and purgatory pops in my mind. Now, I mean, I'm a spiritual person myself, and that, I've got my own theories and beliefs in that, but it's like that what you were saying, Josh, and that I've seen documentaries and things about Death Valley and these giants. Abe calls them DDN, innit? Disembodied Nephilims in that. But yeah, I think you're onto something there, mate. And all I'm thinking is I could be wrong or whatever, but like you say, if there's heaven as hell, where do you go in between that? It's got to be purgatory, isn't it? A place of pain and stress. Is that why these, like Abe call them DDNs? This is why they're disembodied Nephilims, because they're in a place of purgatory at the end of the day. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I think that the 7 deadly sins is a real thing too.
Yeah,
really do.
I agree with that.
Envy is a very bad one. I mean, one of these people or maybe most of them that have been coming against PRT are really just there is something very evil about their envy and the enviousness. Madeline posted something in PRT News, and it was about one of these idiots that she felt like betrayed us, and I don't want to say
It
their
ain't
name to give
corn
them
on
any
cob,
credit.
is it, Josh? Sorry to interrupt you, but it ain't bloody corn on cob, is it?
Do what?
Is it? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this idiot that you're referring to, it ain't bloody corn on cob, is it? Because he is one idiot. And
Well,
I
there's a
mean,
cabal of them here, but listen to what I'm going to say here. This is what she wrote, and I'm going to give the whole thing here. But she talks about the first guy that she said his betrayal hurt the most because I really considered him to be like a brother. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm just going to say she says he can take whatever old screenshots of things I said when I was distraught and had a bunch of snakes in my ear, bad mouthing Wolf and orchestrating the whole thing out of context. But at the end of the day,
I agree.
I already owned up to what I said and the mistakes I made.
Agree.
She says something about this guy, and she says, and his new roach friends is deflect and white night for this guy up in Oklahoma.
what,
And
Mike
she
the
says,
Knight?
okay, hold on. All right, you're going to take off?
Yeah, I've got to go sort my horses out, right? But that's what I just wanted to say, right, Josh, right?
I appreciate it, man. I'll see you, Joe.
Is it purgatory? Are they caught in between that? I don't know. It's
We'll talk, Joe. Okay. All right. So here's what, and then she goes on to talk about this guy from Kentucky, and this is the guy that was burning the PRT merch. And listen, this is important because she says she calls him by his name, but she says you trash talk Wolf to me, and I bit my tongue on repeating what you said to Wolf. My biggest mistake was not having talked to Wolf one-on-one sooner because I allowed everyone else to get in my ear and cloud my judgment because that conversation cleared up so much, and it did. Even more so after we began comparing notes and realized this the first person, we'll call him Fluff, had played us all. I assumed, well, maybe, and we'll call this guy Cosplayer. Cosplayer was just upset. We all say things when we're upset. I tried to talk to you about.
Very interesting.
This is Carrie the roofer. Carrie running around telling everyone
Very
mine and
interesting.
Anthony's business. And you agreed it was wrong. And I know deep down you still see how wrong it was, what Fluff did to Anthony and I. You downplayed the threats Carrie was making towards Wolf, yet you falsely accused Wolf of making threats towards you with no proof because there is none. Wolf saw you as a brother, and this is how you repay him. Cosplayer, when you accused Wolf of being that fake account in your group, Anthony and I both pleaded with you to see reason and reminded you of what Carrie the roofer was doing. We were all still friends at that moment. No one was name calling or getting defensive, and that was what was your reaction? You blocked us all. That told me everything. I don't know if you actually believe this latest nonsense you posted all over your Facebook or if it's just a front. If it is a front, then you're really committed. If it's not a front, then you are beyond gullible. Either way, it's clear you were looking for a reason to attack Wolf because you envied him. Get this, envy. Wolf was willing to help you get to the top in this community. So many other people were willing, and you turned on all of them. It's truly sickening to see what you've become. And contrary to what Fluffington has been saying in his weird obsession with this latest video with the hippopotamus, I did not drag you into this. Fluff wanted everyone involved, and I was already going behind this. And Fluff wanted everyone involved and was already going behind the scenes. I believe you, Fluff, were the one who told Carrie the roofer about me and Anthony sleeping together long before this fight between Wolf and I that you orchestrated. You knew what a busybody Carrie was and was telling him something like that was intentional, and it was. It was on purpose to get this guy to go and do what he was going to do. Now listen to this. She says, your weak attempts to make me look like this manipulative, vile person are pathetic. Turning 2-year-old screenshots into a 3-part series for your Oktoberfest just highlights how obsessed you are with me. I'm sure this is a big part of why, and he's talking about his wife, left you, and I'm glad that she did. Those people you're going to bat for so hard will toss you aside once they're done with you. You have no real friendship, no real loyalty, and that's why you're so bitter, and it's a miserable way of life, and that is absolutely the truth. Here's another one from a guy named Sage. He says, and this is his response to Maddie. He says, I'm sorry, Madeline, but I don't think Cosplayer came to Austin as anyone's friend. Get this. He certainly didn't behave that way. If it were me, I'd be honored if y'all took me out of your life to show me around and take me out to eat and pay for it all. Are you kidding? You know me to some degree. Do you think I'd ever say, well, I didn't ask y'all to invite me over and pay for everything. Y'all could have paid my taxes instead, because that's what the man did. After we did all of that, he went back and told some other friends of ours that he would have rather us paid for his taxes than to have taken him out. That's who Crossplayer is. Entirely ungrateful. I also pleaded with him to use his head. How the Austin Hammer account doesn't make sense. Of course, that's me. He's trying to say that I'm the one that did this. That's who he's referring to. Doesn't make sense how these very people are around him are playing him like he's on strings. I asked him to please at least not call any other women a B word, because even if he felt that way, it would kill his social image. 2 days later, Krista, he's talking about Krista Tweedy, was a B word. You were a B word, talking about Maddie. Nellie was a B word, and I doubt his wife made it out that day without being called a B word. It's just him projecting. He's the biggest B word there is, his dishonorable behavior. Sorry if y'all are getting sick of hearing me say this, but he should have never gone to Austin. Too many opportunities, too many blinking lights, too many cultures. For a man who lived up in a holler his whole life, he's just going to be envious of people younger than him who are way better off than him. To him, that's undeserved. Those aren't real jobs unless you're slapping paint on wood, getting lead sickness till you're 70 and still can't retire. So what that point to this is that this man comes here in 9 days of our hospitality. And I hate to say it, but we took him to some of the nicest places we knew, and he spit food under the table. They laughed at us and mocked us to our faces and in front of our own friends. Mm-hmm. And we accepted it. We dealt with it. And then finally, after 9 days of them bickering and fighting, we'd had enough of it until me and Nellie were not getting along. Now, we weren't screaming, yelling like they tried to say that, because that's what they were doing. We don't have that problem, but we just were like not even talking at that point. And they became my burden because I wasn't going to subject her to it anymore. And I'm not even going to get into the bad behavior that went on. There's he says, oh, there's a lot more that I could say. And I'm sitting there going like, yeah, there's a lot more that I could say too. In fact, on a call with his wife at one point, she said she knew it was the roofer that was causing all the problems. So if she was cognizant enough to know that it was him, how come he wasn't? It's all envy. It's pride. It's jealousy. Those sins will get you in more trouble than anything you could possibly imagine. Now, we could go on Rumble. We could go do a Rumble right now, and we'd get 300 or 400 people in there, and we could talk about this until the cows come home, and we could lay out all these screenshots that are NPRT news. We could rehash it. We have a guy that defected from them recently, and he's not afraid to say his name. And he said he'd come out and he'd talk about it. His name is Anthony. Not him, but another one. And he told me anytime I wanted to do it, we could do it. And he was over there in their camp. He's got the screenshots of everything that they've done and said. And I'm sure they're not happy that he's done that. But he had an attack of consciousness. He had a conscious, just like Wendy Guizdala. She's another one that was there. She had an attack of conscience. Said, I'm not going to go along with this crap. These people are crazy. But they've deluded themselves into believing that they're on some righteous crusade when they sit there and they tell each other, hey, we're all doing this and it's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing, because each and every one of you have to stand before your own judgment. That's what you should do. Before God even has to intervene, you should already be judging yourself and say, hey, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Because at the end of the day, you're disrupting something that is helping people. You're disrupting a community that has come together. And then they drug Bettina's name into it and claimed that I have some kind of video of her. And I told her I was going to say this. So this is nothing. Talked to her earlier. We prayed together. And this woman has been under spiritual attack. Please pray for her. And it's been going on since this stuff started. That's why she left, to keep her sanity. But what she told me earlier, that video was made by a guy named Mark, of her being intimate with this guy. And I know the guy. I don't know him that well, but he spread that around to several people that he thought would push it somewhere. It died with me when he sent it to me and Nellie. It ended right there. But it didn't die with this other woman, and her name is Dana Ortega. And she sent that video to a bunch of different people. We know she did. And now these people have the audacity to lie on their videos and say that I'm holding that video. And the only reason that she's my friend is because I'm holding it as some sort of blackmail. I have no blackmail over Bettina. And she knows that's the truth. And she's even offered to come out and talk about this. And I don't want to make her do that. Because unlike them, they would drag somebody who's under spiritual oppression and throw them in front of the camera and get them to say a bunch of stuff and deal with the crap that's been going. Nobody wants to do that to people if you give a crap about humanity. That's what they would do. And even though it would help for me to have her come out and say it herself, she's offered to do it. Now, I'm going to wait until she's at a place where she's ready to do it spiritually. But these people lie. They absolutely lie. And what they do is so evil and so wicked. There will come a judgment. There is going to come a judgment, earthly, physical, spiritual, whatever. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I promise you. This is not free. You don't get to sit there and say and slander and be envious and jealous and lie and prideful and sin the way that they're doing, passing judgment on everybody the whole way, and then hoping that you're just going to get away with it. That's not how it works. And whether you believe in karma or not, it doesn't matter because it believes in you. And that's going to happen. And you will be held accountable. And the person that started all of this, he can lie and twist and turn. Hit the person championing him is like, oh, you don't know what he's been through. At this point, I can honestly say I don't care what he's been through because it's not enough.
It's his own doing.
After everything that he has put this community through and everyone else that he has gaslighted, everyone else that he has lied about, everyone else that he has hurt, the way that he has torched this community, frauded, grifted, lied, and stole from this community, and tricked and everything else, deceiving these people, man. And then you run over there and be on his team, you are just like them. You are going to be judged with him. It was one of the watchers that did this. Hey, we like these human women. They lusted after human women, and he got some others to do it, and then the others to do it. And then they all came up with a plan. Let's just all do this together. Just because a billion people are doing something bad doesn't mean that you should be one of them. So everybody involved over there, everybody listening to that crap, everybody that's participating in that crap, everybody that's saying that crap, you are all going to be judged for that.
You're all in the same boat.
You're all in the same boat.
And it's sinking.
And you have no more leg to stand on. If this is all you got is just taking screenshots of stuff out of context, taking old text that we've already been over and we already forgave this person for it, what are you worried about? We're the ones that should be mad at Madeline, but we're not.
Makes sense.
We don't care because we're Christian and God tells us to forgive. Christ tells us over and over again to forgive. How many times to forgive? 1,000 times, 1,000 times. That just keeps going. You just keep forgiving. I don't give a rat's behind what Madeline said. She could have called me the most horrible orc-faced demon of the entire universe. It doesn't matter. It's in the past, and now we are friends with her. And she's been living down here for over a year. And we get along. We don't have a lot of problems. So these people can say and squirm and lie and just come up with every type of whatever nonsense they want to. And I can remind you of this. So sharing someone's sexual video is a federal offense, by the way, Dana. Yeah, and you keep adding people's screenshots of their texts or whatever, and some of these are one-party states. You need to remember that too. And when you're done with your big Octoberpalooza, you have my word that I'm going to hand this over to a lawyer. And if I have to pay, I have to get a second mortgage on one of my houses. I say one of them because we have a rental house too. But if I have to get a mortgage on one of these houses, I will. Just to make sure that you're dealt with. We're trying to live our lives. We're trying to do what we do. And you're so worried about everything we do and say. And you're watching this right now. I know you are. But I am not the one you need to worry about. And it's not law enforcement either. What you need to worry about is the one most high, the one that you pretend like you got in your back pocket, the one that is watching all of this unfold. And you absolutely will pay. You will stand in judgment for what you have said and done. The bearing of the false witness, the absolute outright lies that you come up with. Cosplayer saying that I cursed these men in public. I publicly cursed them. I never cursed Daryl Denton or Ron Moorhead,
Martin Groves.
or Martin Groves. Never. He said that I did that on his page. And because these are bold, outlandish statements, who's going to be like, whoa, this must be true? Because who in their right mind is going to say that someone said this? This is not a person in their right mind. Who makes videos of them burning things? Who comes back from the brink of sickness after people that prayed for him? We galvanized the entire community to pray for you, that you wouldn't die. And I prayed in earnest to help you. After all the slander and libel that you committed against us, and there was a lot of it, you come back and you do this. You attack us, sticking the sword in deeper. This is the problem with this community. If we could stop focusing on the attacking and hating of one another, because I just honestly think it's stupid. I laugh at this crap, but it hurts people. You're not hurting me. You will never hurt me because your opinions don't matter. For someone to hurt me, you have to mean something to me. Now, I could get angry. I could get upset because of what you're doing and saying because of your sins against the people that I care about. But you, at the end of the day, you're not hurting me because I don't give a crap. I don't have any respect for any of you. Do you understand that? Not one of these people that is doing and saying these things do I have even a modicum of respect for. None. Zero. If I did, then I might be hurt. But it takes you having to actually care about these people for that to happen. And I'll take it further. I don't hate you. Because in order to hate any one of you, I have to actually have some sort of like emotional feeling toward it or attachment. I don't hate any of you. One thing I can say is when my day comes, I don't hate anybody. And I can literally say that to God. I don't hate. I do not. I know better than to hate. Hate is a wasted emotion. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of life. So do and say what you want. Enjoy the devil's playground while you're on it, while you're here doing it, because it's going to come to an end. And that day of wailing and gnashing of teeth, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen to you, because you may wake up and repent and say, hey, and I keep praying that day will come, that you will repent. Hate is an emotion that requires one to care. And I don't care about you. I care that you stop your horrible doings onto the community and those that are a part of it. But I do hope that you get yourselves right with God, in the real God, the true God, the Father of Christ, which is the one I pray to, not the make-believe one you've made up called Leviathan, because that Leviathan is something we made up to make fun of it. But yeah, I'm sorry for being, whatever. I'm not trying to be cute or funny. But yeah, this is what they say. Claim that I wear a necklace of that. And like I said, they hide behind the fact that we have tons and tons of material, and they can say that we said this and said that. We didn't say any of these things. But you got to sit there and pour through hours and hours and hours of material. What I find funny, though, too, is that they're willing to sit there and pour through hours and hours and hours of material just to find some little nugget that they can snip and take out of context. And we see them snipping our clips of our channel all the time.
Imagine having nothing better to do.
No. And what's crazy, too, is that, and I'm going to say this, I'm telling you the absolute truth. This is the absolute truth. We can link you all together. And that's conspiracy. And now that we have this other guy who's come forward, he has all your screenshots and all those little groups you did and said, and I read some really nasty, mean things about me. But you know what? Even that's not enough to motivate me to run and go after you and chase after you, because I don't have the time for that crap. But other people that I know, they will. Because one thing that they don't understand is I'm not the worst person that you're dealing with in this situation. I'm actually pretty mild. Because like I said before, I don't really care about you. But there's other people who absolutely despise you, and there are other people who hate you. And I don't hate you. And you guys, Tony, Anthony, y'all here, I've actually encouraged those other people not to hate them and to not give so much energy to them.
Yeah.
And those people, they want you bad. And it's not PRT. Nobody at PRT. I'm talking about other people that y'all have run afoul of. Not nice people. They're not really my friends either. I'm kind of distanced myself. I'm like, well, that's on you. You go and do what you got to do. Because I don't want to take it that far. I don't want to go try to lock everybody up or get people, in trouble or whatever. I just want to do my job and live my life and be left alone and feel safe. And I want to be able to do the show and not have interruptions from knuckleheads. Yeah. That's it.
I want to be left alone.
And so really attacking me is, you got the wrong guy. Because me personally, I don't give a crap about you. And I wouldn't even be talking about it if you weren't hurting people that I care about. But some of the people you've hurt and gone after, and you just looked in the rearview mirror like that was over and done with. No. You all have some very pissed off people. So that's something you got to think about. Look at how pride gets you. Look at how envy gets you. And look at how sloth gets you. Because at the end of the day, folks, and Richard, you and I talked about this the other night, these people are full of sloth. Because if they were not, they would have jobs. They would do stuff. They would work. And if you were working, then you wouldn't have that idle mind. And everybody knows what the idle mind is and what it becomes. So if you were doing a job, which they don't, because you wouldn't have time to be making all these crazy videos and all this crazy stuff. You have channels that are dedicated supposedly to talking about these kind of subjects. But instead, you use them to attack other people's channels. And let's be honest. None of your channels are worth a crap. They're boring. And you would have nothing without us. We are the highlights of your day. You wake up every day and you run over there to see what the heck we're doing and saying. Something that you could attack and pick apart. And the whole community is looking at you like you have a freaking mental illness. And the truth of the fact is, in my opinion, you do. And you can make fun and you can make videos and you can act like you're just really worried about it. You can, whatever, pretend, cosplay, pretend like you are what you are, a bunch of frauds. At the end of the day, you're going to end up with no satisfaction and no money because you won't work because you're too busy focusing on us. And the whole community is going to despise you because you're doing nothing but disrupting. Have you ever been in a class where you're actually trying to learn something and there's one person or two people that are just clowns and they're just disrupting? And finally, they go to the principal's office where they belong. That's the best thing because you're like, dude, now I can finally do what I got to do because I got to pass this class. And these people aren't interested in doing anything but causing problems. Go protest somewhere else. That's it, And it is those sins that I just talked about that will keep these people,
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being so obsessed with somebody that you care about what they're doing in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird. That's so weird, dude.
If you look at Dana, I'm just going to use her as an example, and I gave her an opportunity. I said I would pray for her. And even after all the things she's done and said and talked about my wife's tumor and made fun of it, and so did Fluff, here's what I'm going to tell you. At the end of the day, she's the one that spread that video around, and that is a federal offense. And at the end of the day, they are all in cahoots with her. They even made a statement. This is how ridiculous you are. You made a statement saying that she was allowed to post and say what she wanted in your groups. I would never do that, considering what kind of stuff she's done, which is a felony. So now it's going to get real. So keep making threats about going to jail when you guys are all linked together in a conspiracy. You keep talking about conspiracies, but you're the ones doing them. You keep talking about sin, but you're the one committing it. You keep talking about how we're doing this and that in the community, but you're the one messing with it. You keep talking and playing and doing whatever. That's why I come to work and have a big old smile on my face. That's why I come to the show and have a big old grin on my face. And that's why I laugh at you, because every day you're making bigger and bigger mistakes and you're digging the hole deeper and deeper for yourselves. And I'm knee deep stuck in a lot of work right now. We got things we got to do at the ranch. We got things we got to do with our job. We got things we got to do with the show. But when October is done, mark my words, and I have a little bit of time to devote to you people, then you're going to get my attention. Then you will get my full energy. And I promise you, I'm going to do everything I can to make good on my promises.
Sun Tzu said, never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake.
I know. Richard, we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep. And Abe and me and you, we've all talked, and everybody has talked about this. And we don't hide. We're not doing a conspiracy. They're the ones doing the conspiracy. And now you have people that are telling us. And unlike you saying, I have people that have said this, witnesses that have said that, you don't have anybody but make-believe. You're Mr. Rogers. You can't beat me even in the land of make-believe. Go get little Charlie the Train and the postman and all the other little make-believe people and the puppets. That's what you have. We have real people. We have a guy named Anthony who's willing to come forward. Yeah, because you attacked him like you attack everybody. And you know what happens when you attack people? When you try to get them to do bad things with you and then they don't want to go along with it, then you attack them. Guess what they do? They go to the proper people and say, hey, look, this is what they're doing. So we have real people who've witnessed what you've said. We have real people who can, like one of them's right there, Gwendy Guizdala, who knows that y'all committed a conspiracy against my nephews and me to try to say that we committed a home invasion, which you know we did not. And if you think that the statutes of limitations has run out, you're crazy. And if you think that you're going to win some kind of prize, tick tock, the clock is definitely ticking, but it's not ticking in your favor. Because I have time. But once I'm done doing work, because that's what adults do, they have a job, they work. And once I'm done doing this merger, and because I got a merger going on. Yeah. And I got a real estate deal going on because I'm a grown-up. I'm an adult. I do adult things. Then I will devote my time to dealing with you. So please, by all means, continue to perjure yourself, slander yourself, and libel yourself, and do all these other crazy things that you refuse to stop. Because you tell me that I'm supposed to apologize to you. I'll apologize for ever being stupid enough to be your friends. But that's about it. You owe us an apology. But even that's not going to stop what's coming. Because like I said, it's not even up to me anymore. So buckle up, buckaroos. Make some more videos. I hope you give us a ton of material. I hope the videos that come out this week, I really do. I hope that you just slander and just continue on this poo-poo throwing trip that you have going, and you just do it up. And all of that is going to be taken into account, believe me. So that's why I come here and I smile real big. Because I've never seen people so desperate to get themselves in trouble.
Over the past 2 days, that they've dropped 6 hours worth of videos just talking crap about me and Maddie.
Content that's 2 years old.
They made a short about Maddie 2 days ago.
In a month, that's literally the golden year for our any channel that's like in the paranormal.
Yeah. And you're supposed to be doing, but they're doing it on a smaller channel, folks, because Ike, I know you, and you think that you're going to be getting away with it. So you're doing it on her channel. That's fine. Keep doing it because you're all involved and you're all hanging out with somebody who's done some really bad things. Now, you had a chance to stop. You could have stopped and I would have walked away. And many people have told me, hey, do this, do that. And I'm like, no, I'm giving them a chance to stop. But you won't. You keep it up. So anyways, folks, that's all. And it's hopefully a lesson for everybody in this community to not do these kinds of things. To not character assassinate. Fluff, that's what you were always good at, was attacking people. I didn't like it. Because when they start looking into Dana, oh my gosh, they're going to see every conspiracy there.
Do these idiots qualify for a RICO?
I don't know. I'd have to see, because we're scheduled to talk to the lawyer next week. We have a new one. The old lawyer, and the problem was that I was trying to give this other lawyer a chance, and I'll be honest, he needs prayer. He's our friend, and he's got diabetes real bad. And he can't do it. He can't do what he's got to do. He's on the verge of retiring, and he's been my lawyer for years. But now we're just going to have to find this other guy looks promising, and we're going to let him deal with it, let him look at it. Because unlike them who say they're going to let the authorities deal with it, we really are. So you might not hear much more about it pretty soon, but we're just going to let them keep jumping around and playing and acting a fool. So I'm looking forward to all of the nonsense the next few days. It's going to be nice to see these people just continue to dig themselves into a hole. And even if something doesn't legally come of it, which I believe it will, they're going to be smearing themselves with crap for the entire community to see just how rotten and evil and how low they can be. Because in my opinion, that's what this is. And like I said, in my opinion, these are my opinions, and I'm entitled to them.
It's the best case of giving somebody enough rope to hang themselves I've seen.
Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is for them, not for us, because we always just do good and win.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a big chat every freaking time we have a show, and there's going to be people that are going to go watch it. And for the 6 or 7 real people that watch their channel, I feel sorry for you. If that's what you think is good entertainment, it's like hee-haw on crack.
Yeah.
Well, the more that the idiots bitch about you, it's kind of free marketing for you, because they just, people are going to get curious and go, how bad can these people over at PRT be? And then they watch you and they're like, oh wait, hey, this is good stuff. So,
How did
And
they
we've
get
already
this?
connected some of the fake accounts like Chicken's Cleghorn. That came out in court.
Yeah. Peterson Damon did too, I believe.
I'm gonna congratulate you though, Dana. You've been a way more useful ally to us than anybody else in this whole game.
No useful enemy.
Yeah, but no, useful ally.
useful idiot.
That's true.
She's a useful ally. You've been more of an ally than you could have ever been. You weren't an enemy, because you single-handedly pretty much buried them. That was the worst thing they could have done, was kept her running around in there and involving her in all these chats. There's a lot of stupid things that they did. When you sit around and you try to drum up ideas on how to get someone arrested, or you try to drum up ideas about how to get someone hurt, that's called a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
They keep talking about conspiracies, but they don't know what those words mean. That's what happens when you have low intellect people leading low intellect people.
And if they're doing it across state lines and electronically, that's a whole new level of felonies.
Yeah.
It's a serious lack of decrement, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, watch out for that decrement just piling up.
So they can do what they say and whatever they can run and cry and say whatever, but the bottom line is you did it, and you can't say you didn't, and you can't say you didn't know, because it's all right there. Go to PRT News and look; you'll see exactly what these people are doing. And I hope this has been a good thing in a way, even though it's been a nightmare to deal with. Because at the end of the day, when you flush these kind of people out of the community and flush them down the toilet where they belong, and that's where they belong, in my opinion, you clean things up. It took all of this, but it will clean things up. And I feel bad that they were bringing Sister Bettina into this, because I prayed with her today, and it was it's sad, because she's going through spiritual warfare, and she's just and still was willing to talk and help to clear my name. And I told her, you don't got to clear my name, because they can't do anything about my name. All they can do is make stupid videos where they take things out of context, which is what they always do. And then call me fat and all kinds of other names that I don't give a crap about, because I know how I really look, and they're all actually fat. Every one of them is obese. 2 of them have got to the point where they're so fat, I don't even know if they can walk anymore. I'm not even joking. I'm not being cute. In my opinion, they need to, like, they're blood sugar levels and blood pressure must be through the roof. I mean, put down the Popeyes, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you fat boy. You know, that's. I better get out of here before I start making fun. All right, guys, I'm out of here. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being the best part of what makes PRT PRT. And that's the audience. The story tonight, something to think about. It's still going. I don't know. There's always going to be weird, creepy, evil people, you know, and making bad decisions. And that's what this is. So anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being, like I said, the best part of what makes PRT PRT. Let's pray for those 5 or 6 people that were the real people that actually went over there to watch their nonsense. And let's hope that their eyes are open. And that hopefully everybody that wants to get rid of our merchandise can get rid of it. Donate it to Goodwill. Or just burn it, because you gotta burn the demons off of it, according to them.
I still need to burn someone's book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can burn their books because it's nothing but boilerplate trash anyway. He can see me with those books.
Might as well burn it.
Well, hopefully I'll get my replacement book from you, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll give you something. Yeah.
Well, I already emailed you. I'll send another one.
So if you got any of those inhumanoids, you know, and you just want to get rid of them, just why don't we do this? You just burn them, and we'll send you a replacement.
There you go.
Give it to a stoner, and they'll use it as rolling papers.
It'll be a while before I
Get
burn
some
mine,
use out of it.
It's in storage right now.
Yeah.
But I'll burn it.
You don't want it affecting the other books. You know, it's possessed. It's like
Yeah,
the
there is
Necronomicon on steroids.
I
It's
don't
like
have
an
that.
alien mothership.
No, the alien mothership
ship
was
was
last
that-
week.
Yeah. No, that was the mama ship.
The mama ship.
Yeah.
The mama ship, not the mama.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, watch out for them 50-foot angels when you're burning their bushes, eh?
They'll stomp you out, bro. They
Yeah.
stomped me out. Me and Abe, we tried to go burn some bushes, and they stomped us out.
Yeah, you gotta watch that.
That's what happens.
And
Not a
Josh,
scratch on me, but they stomped me out.
I was to say I'm very sorry to hear about the dog. It's really hard when you lose one.
Mhm.
It sucks.
Sucks. It really
It's-
does.
Yep, it sucks. I can't even think about mine without crying. So yeah. I know. It sucks.
So we got 281 people, though. Does anybody want to win? If your name is in green, obviously you'll be ready for the show tomorrow. Get your name in green. That's for the show tomorrow, but that doesn't matter whether your name is in green. You can win anyway. So if anybody hasn't won, we're going to pick a couple people real quick here. Tell me you haven't won, and let's give you something. My brothers. The hills have eyes and swords, and the beat
Amazing.
diabetes.
Wolf, this is going to be a bit of a hard question for you, but did you let your other animals see baby before are you going to let them see her before you bury her?
We're going out there tomorrow to get her, and we're going to decide what we're going to do. Maybe cremate her and get her ashes.
I will tell you, it goes a long way if the other animals see, them before you bury them or whatever. I'm very grateful. You did. Sorry. The night I had to put my senior German Shepherd down, my other one just threw a fit. She wanted to come with me while I took him to the vet. I'm glad. I had no idea I was gonna have to put him down, but I'm glad she went with me because she got to say goodbye. So
That's sad. Well, I'm gonna let you guys run. Excalibur, I'll be seeing you.
yes, you will.
Okay. All right. Bye. Andres and Richard. So Daniel Nunez says, I've won before, but haven't received one yet from August. So they've won, but they haven't received their stuff. So make sure you send that to giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com.
Yeah, Daniel, if you wouldn't mind sending another email tonight to that email address, just with your name, your mailing address, and if you could please state what you won on the giveaway, I can get your name on the list for the mail out. So we're going to do tomorrow.
So who hasn't won? Tina Lube Is that a real name?
I was wondering the same
How
thing.
about that?
It's French.
So let's
Roubaix.
pick another person here. We got to pick.
Roubaix.
Kimberly Hines says, "I've never won." Kimberly, you just did. You're the winner. Okay, you won. Some people are saying they've won before. Cryptid Podcast. The Cryptid Podcast says, "I have not won." Well, you just did. Y'all two win. You win tonight. How about that? Stephanie Meachon says, "I haven't won." Well, we'll pick you too, Stephanie, because you just got your name in green, and I saw that tonight. You chose to become a member. So thank you for everybody who donated. Yeah.
We're gonna get you your stickers too, Wendy. We haven't forgot about you.
One could argue that those 4 chambers are purgatory.
Do what?
One could argue that those 4 chambers are purgatory.
Yeah, the email address is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It says it's giveaways at prtpodcast.com.
Oh, okay. So Abe is live. I might go over there tonight and hit him up and see what he's doing. But I got work to do for right now. So maybe in an hour or so I might be over there. If you guys want to hit over to Abe's channel, I might jump in. So meet me over at Abe's if you're not doing anything. All right, guys. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and congratulations to everybody who won. And like I said, just pray for these people that they'll stop and change their ways and realize it's not a good path they're on. All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow night. What is the episode tomorrow night about on the
It's going to be about the Oswing.
The Oswing, yeah, members only. Because we have another Oswing story we're going to do on Sunday. We were going to do it tonight. And that would have been redundant, Oswing. So we did this one because, yeah, it was about his dog. But then when I started doing the retelling of it, I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have because the guy lost his dog.
Yeah.
But and when I looked at my notes, I realized that story about the guy's German Shepherd with the Belgian Malinois, that's another story. It's not this one. And all it was a guy whose pet was unalived. Thank God our baby was not unalived by a cryptid.
Yeah.
That would be pretty horrible.
Could be worse.
Yep. So maybe it wasn't the best, to talk about with a pet, being unalive, but
Truth is the truth, though.
Yeah. And sometimes I make mistakes because I was getting 2 stories mixed up until I looked at the notes, and I was like about maybe 10 minutes in. I said, oh, this is a different one. This is a different story. But we'll get it. We'll get that one done too. Everybody's encounter is important, and so many people come on. Don't forget Mondays. You can always come on and retell your story on Mondays. And that's a good thing. All right, guys, I'm out of here. We love you. Good night.
Love you guys. See you later, fellas. God bless.
See you later, Dick.
Later, Dick.
Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, a good shepherd is he, the one that guides me. Though in darkness I find myself alone, I lack nothing, for my God above me his throne. All his love he has shown. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life above me his throne. The silent storm of chaos follows close behind, but in him comfort I find. I find still waters flow gently, reminding me in him I find safety. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life above me, his throne. I don't walk alone no matter where I go, on the highest mountain or the back alleyways. The Lord with me, he stays. He restores my soul, renewed, unbroken, his righteousness spoken. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life above me, his throne. Guidance, protection, this is his love's reflection, guarding me from the opposition. The Lord's feet show me a righteous direction. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life above me, his throne. Overflowing blessings, anointed with oil, the Lord protects my soul from eternal turmoil. My cup overflows, his mercy he shows, abundance he sows. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life above me, his throne. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever, no matter where. For the Lord's goodness and mercy are in me, a faithful love entire.